What is happening, everybody? Happy Thanksgiving, our first holiday podcast, Yuli. Happy Thanksgiving, brother.
I'm feeling festive, man. Happy Thanksgiving to you.
I know you got the festive shirt on. I just actually got off the disc golf course, so I'm not very festive right now. But what is festive is the show tonight, folks. We have a big one for you. We have the PDGA going Champions Cup rescheduled, psych. Champions Cup rescheduled, psych. Champions Cup rescheduled. We're going to break that all down. We have an interview with Vaino, who's going to kind of let us know what's going on with Europe, pro players, how they're feeling, they're being treated. Then we have the GOAT of bowling, Jason Belmonte. Me and Yuli sat down. There's a pre-recorded interview with him because he's traveling so much. We sat down with him, had an incredible conversation with him. That will be played at the end, so stick around for that at the very, very end. Then we have a wild story of the week to talk about, and then always we will be finishing it off with our listener questions. Before we go into anything, Yuli, back from the honeymoon, man. How'd it go?
Oh, it was awesome, man. We had a great time. Wedding was fantastic. One day we got to recover, from the festivities of the wedding, and then we were off to the Dominican Republic. And we were there for 9 days. It was fantastic, man. We had a blast. A lot of adult beverages, a lot of hanging by the beach, hanging by the pool, good food. Last couple of days weren't as cool. I caught a little food poisoning, but that was about it. I mean, everything went super smooth besides that, and we had a great time. It is nice to be back home. I had about 2 months there where we were just slammed from the USDGC, Pro Tour Championships, wedding, honeymoon. And now I'm kind of back home getting in the swing of things. So thank you to Simon and Calvin for filling in for me, man. Meant a lot. And they did fantastic. I watched every single episode and stayed as involved as I could. But thank you to those guys.
Yeah, I know everyone is excited to get you back on the show. What was your favorite thing favorite excursion? Maybe it was a favorite meal, favorite experience from the honeymoon?
You know what was surprising was how soft the sand was. I hate sand. Like when I go to the beach, I can't stand it. It gets everywhere, and I'm not a beach guy. And every day I look forward to just going onto the beach because the sand was so soft, and it was just beautiful, clearest water you'll ever see in your life. I mean, beautiful, sunny days every single day. But the best part about it was just hanging out with Sarah and getting some relaxing time for sure.
Yeah. I mean, the honeymoon is like a vacation on steroids, probably, right? So it's obviously the food poisoning, probably not the greatest experience in the world, but outside of that, like you can't really go wrong on a honeymoon. So it was awesome. Oh, and also the weather that I've seen like TikToks, Instagram stories of where people are going to like these tropical locations and like a hurricane or something, like terrible weather gets and they can never leave their room. That lucking out on that, I think that's really the only way that can kind of damper a honeymoon. But happy for you and Sarah, but I'm sure everyone listening to, we're all happy for you to be back on the show. And we got a lot to discuss, but before we have Black Friday coming up this Friday. So Silas, go ahead and play that video when it's ready. I don't think it's up. Okay, we'll play that in a second. But you can hear the music. The music's sick. The music's very nice, but we'll get that. Silas, just let me know whenever that's ready to go. I don't think we had video there for our viewers. Oh, here we go. All right, there it is. Shout out to Silas also for doing the rap for us there. He did it at a pretty cheap budget. So if you aren't following Silas on Spotify yet, he does some rap in his spare time as well as producing the show. So shout out to him. Um, but yeah, Black Friday going down on Foundation, but also big, huge stuff going down on Discraft as well. I think they're dropping It's Always a Passion color shift disc. I think we have like Get Freaky hats up there. Yuli, what do you have going on Black Friday? You guys got any? You whipped up anything?
We're working on getting those jerseys in. Hopefully they come in time. If not, man, I got so much stuff on the Discraft website, which is awesome. I got really lucky from when I switched over from the Ledgestone website. We had a lot of products on there, so I always have something on there, and it really goes a long ways for the support that I get from people buying hats or shirts or discs or whatever. Not only me, but the whole team. If you guys want to get some good deals, definitely go check that out. The whole team's going to have some really good goodies on there. Make sure you go check out the website.
I did have a meeting this morning with All Business Brad about Tour Life merch. So we are going to, I know we have already ordered 1 or 2 pieces of accessories, I guess I can say. But we're going to be working on maybe some hats, maybe a jersey, maybe some other stuff as well. So stay tuned for some Tour Life merch. Last thing I want to say about the mystery boxes that are dropping on Foundation. If you weren't able to make it to USDGC, get yourself a Yuli horse or whatever we're calling those buzzes. We had a couple of those left over that we kind of kept to be able to throw into some mystery boxes. So a good chance to get one of those. And last year, our mystery boxes went by so fast. So if you're interested, make sure to check out Foundation this Friday for
I've been
Black
throwing
Friday
those.
deals.
I've been
They're
throwing
nice.
those buzzes. They're stable. They're sweet.
They are
those
nice.
I was surprised. I threw them thinking, okay, it felt a little flippy in the hand, and then it was not. I think I'm bagging it for next year.
Yeah, if you're looking to minimize the molds in your bag, right, and you don't want to have to bag a drone or a Buzz OS, that Buzz is like a perfect slot for that overstable mid-range. So all right, so let's jump into it. Unfortunately for the PDGA, I've had my back and forth with the PGA, but unfortunately for them, they're just throwing me softballs this week. There are so many softballs that they're just throwing, and I'm that like ex-Major League Baseball player coming back to my hometown, playing in the local softball league, and I'm just hitting bombs over the fence right now with what the PGA is doing. They initially posted an article that has since been taken down. And now, actually, a few hours before this podcast, a new article, a new announcement has come out. And so we'll get to that in a second. But the first article that came out was the announcement that the 2024 PDGA Champions Cup was being moved to June 27th through 30th at the Northwood Park in Morton, Illinois, due to a delay in the tree clearing at the IDGC. So going back and looking at previous articles that the PDGA had posted about Champions Cup, if you're living under a rock, the invasive pine beetle infestation is what's causing them to have to move Champions Cup. They initially moved it to like the end of season, weeks after the season was already going to be done. That's when it was going to be held. And now they have pushed it, or at this time they had pushed it to June 27th through the 30th. The project to cut down the trees and basically build out a whole new course that has now been pushed back. It was supposed to be scheduled for early October, so a month and a half ago, and it was supposed to be completed sometime in November, like early November. And apparently they have just started they had just started doing tree cleaning like right now, is what I think someone had said, that they just started it. So there's this whole,
like,
yeah,
Brodie, one of my biggest pet peeves is when a big tournament drops a new course and it's like 1 year old. and there's no like traffic that goes through there. Like I'm kind of happy that they're not going to have a fast turnaround, because I don't remember the last time we played a course where it was brand new. Like literally, I can't remember. And it was worn in and good enough for the tour.
Yeah,
Like
I mean,
whenever they do that, there's always limbs, there's stumps, there's exactly. It's not vetted properly. There hasn't been tournaments played on it. Like that is a very, very slippery slope to go down in the first place. So maybe it's like for the best.
Yeah, I think when we're talking about wooded courses, it's definitely more difficult to create a wooded course that hasn't been played on that much and just have a tournament out there. We're going to see it at Worlds at Ivy Hills, right? Ivy Hills is a brand new course. Now, Nate Heinold and his team are putting in the work to have events leading up to it. They've already held 2 events prior to that. One of those I was able to go out there and play. They're getting players' feedback. But on an open course, it's so much easier to tweak the OB, tweak the basket locations. It's really hard to make it's really hard if you make a bad wooded hole for someone to show up and be like, this hole sucks, and then be like, okay, well, let me just plant a tree. Or it's a lot harder in the woods than it is in the open. So you might be right. It might be a blessing in disguise. Now, Nate Heinold is going to remain TD for Champions Cup. He was going to be the TD at Champions Cup. He's going to stay. And right now, they are planning on Champions Cup coming back to Wildwood Park in 2025 is what they're looking at. Now, when the announcement came out, this is the first announcement that they made. When this came out, a lot of negative feedback from players. First one I saw was from Vaino, who, for those that don't know, is potentially the biggest, I would say behind Seppo, he might be the most popular European player on the MPO side. Obviously, I think Kristen Tatar might top the list as far as popularity goes. But Vaino has a big voice on the European side, and he posted on his story saying, "This is sad. Middle of the Disc Golf Pro Tour Europe stretch. Like finally there will be a nice mini tour when we would have almost all the best players in Europe. This makes things complicated." Then you have he follows that up saying, "My opinion, PDGA doesn't care about the Europe swing. How about this? PDGA wants to grow the sport as big as possible worldwide. How good would that be to have all the players in Euro Tour and making disc golf more interesting and maybe even more popular in Europe?" This was followed by Nicolas Antilla coming out and saying, "I feel stupid I even have to make a decision like this about should I skip the major and play the European swing, or do I need to go and play Champions Cup?" Then you also had, I don't know if this is a pro or whatnot, but Timu on Twitter responded to one of my tweets saying, "Imagine being European and having to choose over Swedish Open and Nationals over major just because of the PDGA." Then we had some American players reach out. We had Eagle reach out and say, "This is not good. A lot of players were looking forward to the European Tour. Reschedule the reschedule." And then, okay, before we go into anything else, a lot of people just coming out. And I think the main reason for this, Yuli, is for 2 reasons. One, the presence of Paul Macbeth going over there, I think brought a lot more eyeballs to not just spectators, but also pros on tour. I think they were tuning into those tournaments and seeing the type of courses over there. And we're like, wait, these courses are sick. The crowds are sick. I want to be involved. I mentioned this last week. We had people going out there for the PCS Open, and people were really enjoying those tournaments as well. And so I think a lot of pros were very interested in extending their European swing, where in the past, you guys were just going over there for European Open and coming back. Agree or disagree with what I just said there?
Totally agree. Absolutely. I mean, even for myself, watching the tournaments that Macbeth was playing in last year, it was nice to wake up and get some disc golf coverage in and check out the European talent. And I thought, I still haven't made my full schedule yet, but I was planning on playing a couple of those. I feel like, and that definitely puts a damper on a lot of things. I mean, putting that tournament right there just doesn't make any sense, man. It really
Yeah.
doesn't. It's a kind of a sad thing, but at the same time, I don't know the ins and outs, so I don't know how tight they are as far as scheduling. I mean, the whole tour is a tight schedule when you really look at it. It's tight all the way around.
So then we also had I'm not familiar with this person. This is Makela Svensson. They responded on a Facebook comment saying, please remind me what the P in the PDGA stands for. In this case, pathetic. This is so unprofessional as it gets. So many people have worked so hard for so long time to make a schedule for the biggest competitions 2024, and the PDGA now goes, just kidding, we are changing this. Don't think about Europe, USA, and the world anyway. Paul Macbeth responded saying, you know where I'll be with a Swedish flag. Basically implying that he's going to be skipping Champions Cup and going to the Sweden Open. Then you have Dan Crash Canada say, I think the tournament needed to be changed, and this was the earliest the announcement could be made. So hard to fault the PDGA for the timing of the announcement. I hear and agree that new dates are not ideal and hopefully could change, but we'll see. Now, a little bit more, pulling the curtain behind a little bit as well. The people that were doing the Disc Golf Pro Tour Europe, I don't think they, like the people that are running the tournaments, I don't think they were even given a thought of, hey, this is what's happening. Someone reached out and said that the person that's TDing the Sweden Open had no idea that this announcement was being made. And so, I mean, I'm sure that was a shock to just see this all of a sudden and be like, wait, I thought a bunch of people were going to come over and play this tournament.
Committee. Like the major committee, I'm pretty sure has a big part in saying all that stuff. Not necessarily even the PDGA. There's a committee that is in charge of all the majors. I'm pretty sure, especially the World Championships. I know for a fact. But so when it comes to those majors, I don't think the BGPT has any say over it either.
No. I was saying
they make their schedule. Yeah, I was just saying that for the people at home.
Yeah.
When you think about the tour,
sure.
You think about this broad
They're
thing
separate.
about, okay, if it's an elite series, then that includes majors, but it's not. The majors are a completely different part than the elite series.
No, I mean, if the PDGA wanted to, they could literally say, hey, we're going to have Champions Cup the same weekend as USDGC, right? If they really wanted to. Those two organizations that run Champions Cup and USDGC are separate. So they could do that. So yes, my point was more the communication on all these different organizations just seems like it's lacking. It seems like it's not even there, or people are just blatantly not even caring about what others are involved. Because again, not letting someone know ahead of time, like, hey, we're thinking about doing this, and them finding out is crazy to me. I do want to go now to the Vaino interview. I was able to sit down with Vaino for a few minutes and talk with him about his thoughts. And then we'll go kind of into the most recent post that the champions about the Champions Cup. So go ahead, Silas, whenever you're ready, play the interview with Vaino. Vaino, thanks so much for joining us here on Tour Life. I really appreciate you taking the time. How's it going over there so far?
It's going pretty good. I have started my off-season training, and things are going pretty solid, and I'm enjoying the off-season pretty much.
Nice. Very well. Yeah. It's starting to get a little chilly here in Vegas on our side. But the off season is in full swing. So I wanted to get you come on here because Champions Cup, the PDGA just announced that they are going to be rescheduling to a earlier date in the season. And just to kind of preface everything, I do want to say there is sometimes a little bit of a bias. I feel like being in the United States, we focus a lot on what we're doing over here, and we focus a lot on the players over here. And I think sometimes we forget how popular disc golf is in Europe and how popular some of the top players in Europe are. Is this something that the PDGA kind of had a misstep? Did they just not plan accordingly? And explain to me why, if that is the case, what is going on as far as European players go with the change in the scheduling of Champions Cup?
Yeah, so I'm not even sure what the PDGA think about with the new dates and that stuff. And yeah, that might be the case that PDGA are thinking that USA is like more important because of course you have more players, you have like more courses, you have like everything is bigger in States. But I was pretty confused that because I thought PDGA's they're like if their future is gonna be okay, we want to expand the disc golf every single part in the world, and I feel like that's gonna be like of course boosting European disc golf community, that we're gonna have like multiple events and all the top players are gonna play the European tour. So I think that's gonna boost the European disc golf community and scene like the pretty big way. So that was kind of weird when they announced that, and people and also not only the European players but also US players were pretty mad about the new decision.
Yeah, I think having Paul go over there and play in a bunch of European events this past season, and then a bunch of us going over and playing PCS Open the week before the European Open, I think a lot of players got a little bit of taste of what European disc golf is like, and we're really looking forward to playing more events next year. And with the announcement of Disc Golf Pro Tour Europe and all the new events that are going to be points-based now for the Tour Championship, it really made it look like they were putting an effort into wanting to have more players go over into Europe. And so if I'm looking at the schedule right now, Champions Cup sits really good if you weren't planning on going over to Europe at all. It sits right in between the Preserve and Des Moines Challenge, which now if you're traveling in that area, you're going from Minnesota to Illinois and then Illinois to Iowa. So it works really well for the American players that weren't planning on going over to Europe. But if you're planning on having a European tour, you were probably planning on playing the Turku Open, which is in Finland. That's 2 weeks before the Swedish Open, which is the same date as the Champions Cup. So can you give us a little insight now? If the Champions Cup is set in stone, what are your plans moving forward?
And that's gonna be the tough question, because I don't even know what I need to do, because they are putting me in the difficult place that I need to even like choose that, okay, if I'm gonna play the major or if I'm gonna play finally the European like a Euro Tour that DGPT is hosting. So I'm feeling pretty dumb, like why I need to make that decision, like between major and multiple DGPT events in Europe. So I don't even know what I'm gonna do, and I'm also pretty surprised that why they didn't put the major like a start of the season, like where the this year's Champions Cups were, like nearby, like April, May, when was it? So I was pretty surprised that they wanted to put it like June, and because there are multiple dates that are better than the June, like between Music City Open and DDO, there's like off week, like why we are not playing in that week, because it's making it's also making sense with
for
like,
you guys.
Yeah, it's making sense because like from Music City Open.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, from Music City Open to DDO, the Illinois where the Champions was gonna be, it's like how you say it, like midway to the DDO from Music City Open, like that making sense.
When you guys are like planning your schedules ahead of time, does it financially make sense? Like, are you guys set in a way to where you could fly over for a week and play a tournament and then fly back, or does that just make no financial sense for you guys right now with where disc golf is?
I think it's I think that's not the case. That I think I'm speaking from my perspective, that my financial side is good. That if I want to fly there for 1 week and come back, then yeah, I'm all good. But I don't think it's that making sense that only flying to state for playing the one tournament, because the time difference and everything. I'm not feeling like that I'm gonna be like a 110% ready for the one tournament, because I'm flying like 6 or 7 days before the tournament and only playing the one tournament. So I'm not getting the good feeling of it, that I'm gonna play only the one tournament. I want to play multiple tournaments and getting the feeling of it.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. All right, last question I've got for you before we let you go here. What is the ideal schedule moving forward for European players? Do you want to have a situation where there is a section of the year where events aren't really happening in the States and the top US players are going over and playing events in Europe?
Yeah, so I think the ideal, well, I felt like the ideal were the schedule what the DGP they announced for the next year without the Champions Cups. I felt like that's gonna be the ideal, first part of the season in the States, starting to play in the Europe in June to August, and then ending the season in States. So I think that's pretty ideal schedule for the Europeans.
Makes a lot of sense. Okay. Well, I mean, they've changed the date once. There has been a lot of backlash from not only European players, but also from American players as well. I think the media will kind of make this a little bit bigger story as well. So the idea that it is set in stone when it is, I don't believe so. So there is a chance maybe that we see it change to a date that is better for all players on tour. But until then, I guess we don't know. So we'll just sit back and wait. But Vaino, I appreciate you taking the time today, coming on, brother. Thank you so much. And can't wait to see you back on tour next year.
Yes. Thank you. And see you next year.
All right. There was Vaino. Some interesting thoughts from him. You could totally see that he wants Europe to be more involved in the disc golf pro tour scene. I will say this, Yuli, if it was the world championships we were talking about, I don't think it would be a hard decision for a lot of these guys.
No, they might still be mad, but it wouldn't even it wouldn't be the same thing.
They would be like, all right, well, I guess I'm going over and playing the world championship. All right, so I'm on the course today. I'm practicing. I'm thinking about, okay, we're going to talk about Champions Cup. We're going to try to start trying to figure out what should happen. Should they move it because there's so much outcry? Shouldn't? And we get a post on the PDGA's Instagram that says, update to the update. The 2024 PDGA Champions Cup has a new date. I go to the link. The link is update to the update, new 2024 PDGA Champions Cup dates. And then below that, it's got in text saying, for real this time. So they end up moving it again. This is now the third time they have moved it. It is now going to be smack dab, which I think, honestly, all things considered, I think it's the right move. It's going to be April 25th through the 28th, 2024 in Morton, Illinois. Going to be at Northwood Park. There will be 4 rounds being played at Northwood Black. And this is now right kind of around the DDO time. So I think it makes sense for us in the States to play it. There's no European events going on. But my question to you, Yuli, how does this make the PDGA look? Because to me, it makes them look weak. It makes them look discombobulated. It makes them look that if enough pros just come out and say something, they're willing to change everything. I think this is a bad overall look. Even though we got to where probably we should have gotten in the first place, I think getting there this has been a bad overall bad situation for the PDGA.
Yeah, I think there's two ways to look at it. You can look at it in that way, or you can look like, I mean, for example, if you're like a business owner, right? You have to be able to take criticism and learn from your mistakes and do what's best for your company. I think they ended up doing that. I think they ended up making the correct decision, moving the date again, and I don't know, an organization that's able to look and listen to their members and make a decision based on those things seems like a pretty good look to me, honestly. And I feel like that's probably where I would take that stance right now. Because I would hate it if they were like, oh, nope, we're just doing this. We're not thinking about them. Taking a step back and being like, we made a mistake. We're going to make it better. I don't know. I kind of like that. I do.
If it was the first time, if it was, if I show up to work, like you made the example of like if a business is listening, if it was the first time that something happened, right? If I shopped, I'm trying to figure out like a good example off the top of my head. And I'm just thinking like if I shopped somewhere and I had a really bad experience buying something off of a store and they responded to an email saying, hey, we see what ended up happening. We apologize. We're going to get this right. We'll fix it. We'll make it better. There's a chance that I might go back and shop with them again. But if it's a reoccurring theme of every single time I'm shopping or, every other time I'm shopping, something happens, I'm probably moving forward. We don't have that luxury. We are locked in with the PDGA. We have if you want to play on the Pro Tour, you have to be a PDGA member. There's no other way of going about it. To me, this is a bad look that they are willing to just throw stuff out there and make an announcement and say, this is what's happening. And then be so quick to changing it to where it should never have happened in the first place. They should have been able to reach out to all the pros that are playing.
You think they got it right?
What's that? Sorry, what'd you say?
I said, do you think they got it right? At the end of the day, is this the right move?
Yes, the third time they got it right is how I would answer that. The first time was wrong. Okay. The second time was wrong. The first time was correct. I'm just saying, should us as professionals be worried with the PDGA being kind of the center point of the sport of disc golf? Or are you not worried at all?
I lost you. I can't hear you, Brodie. I'm sorry.
Oh, maybe try Yuli size. Maybe try Yuli just audio and see if that works. If he's having some connection problems. But can you hear me now?
I can hear you now. Yeah.
Okay. I was saying the PDGA is involved with two of our majors. They also have, they're also involved with all the rules that the Disc Golf Pro Tour plays by. We have to be a member to get in to be able to play in events. The ratings, they have their foot in a lot of different areas in disc golf. And my question is like, the moves that we seem to make, should we be worried at all as far as like trying to get disc golf to grow, trying to get bigger companies to look at disc golf as a serious advertising, as a serious sport? Should we be worried at all that the PDGA is kind of leading that front for us?
Yes, of course. I mean, making these mistakes isn't good. It's not a good thing by any stretch of the imagination. But there's two ways to look at it. Like I said, they do the second one, and then they just screw over all the European players and the whole tour, and they leave it right there. That, to me, would have been worse. That, to me, would have been worse. I think, personally. By changing it again, I think they got it right. And so, hey, man, let's move on to next week and see see what happens. They throw a lot of stuff at us, man. And do I think that it's like running smoothly and should we be worried? Absolutely. I mean, the sport's honestly having growing pains, of course. From week to week, we see things happening to where, I mean, even on the show, we look at each other and we're like what's going on? What is this? But like I said, I'm more about looking at the positive side of it because of they could have just completely done the wrong thing and they didn't do that. So let's take a baby win and move on, and then we'll see what they do next week.
You're right. No, you're right. And I give them credit for finally getting to that point of where this makes sense. Yeah. However, my big concern is this was a no-brainer to start with. Like the move that they did doesn't piss anyone off. None of the American players are pissed off. None of the European players are pissed off. None of the fans are pissed off. Everyone is happy with this move. My concern moving forward is they have now shown precedent that if enough people, and maybe it's not even enough people, if the right people complain, if the right people come out and say they don't like something, they have shown precedent that they are willing to change. And so my question is, what happens when they make an announcement that 50 people don't like, and 50% of the people don't like, and 50% of the people do like? And those 50% of the people come out and you have the right voices in that 50% saying, this is bad, I don't like this. Now, are they just going to change it? That's where I'm concerned.
I just feel like this was a real unique situation. And I think if I were to give my opinion of what I think happened, which is probably 80% not true, is there was probably like one person who just made a bad mistake and pushed it through. You know what I mean? Who was like, oh, yeah, that sounds good. And he's talking to his people, and they're like, okay, yeah, do it. And then it was just a bad mistake, one guy, and then it was an easy fix. You know what I mean? Once they looked at it thoroughly, and they're like, oh, whoa, we made a mistake. Let's fix it. And then they did that. That's what it looks like to me. It doesn't look like something that you would have like a committee or the head of the PDGA guys coming together, and they're like, oh, yeah. That makes a lot of sense. Deal. Let's do it. You know what I'm saying?
But shouldn't that worry you? How does that not worry you that there's one person? Yes. There's one person that could just have the power to just be like, yoink.
It does. But what I like about it is they got it right. It would be worse if they didn't. It would be a completely different conversation.
No,
At
for
least
sure.
They're willing to learn and to fix their mistakes, because if they weren't and they just kept it, then I would be like, I don't know what the future's going to hold for us for things like this, because they obviously don't care.
Yeah.
But this shows that they care, and they got it right, which is awesome.
Now, with all this being said, Ledgestone will now be
Another
4 rounds. No more announcements. But Ledgestone will now be 4 rounds at Lake Eureka. So Ledgestone will not be played at Northwood Black. This, I think, is going to be the toughest major in history to win. 4 rounds at Northwood. I'm setting the line at 20 players DNFing. What are you taking the over on the under of 20 DNFs at this 4-round event at Northwood Black?
Depends on the weather. If it's like raining, it might be more. There's so many people that just tap out. Hopefully we get good weather. That place is mentally a grind, man.
Yeah, a couple concerns I have for Northwood would just be the parking. The parking is a major issue there, and now it holding a major. I think a lot more people are going to be showing up if they can, or they want to show up. And the parking and the spectating is like kind of a nightmare there. So I don't know what they're going to be doing, if anything. Do you know? Have you heard any word on updates?
I don't think there's any chance that there's going to be as many spectators as Ledgestone. I don't think there's any possible chance.
Do you think that because of the
for sure?
Because of the AM event? You think less people are going to show up because there's no AM event going on?
There's like what is it, like 3,000 or 4,000 people playing, or I don't know what it was, thousands of people playing in the amateur
That's a good
tournament.
point. That's a very good point. We saw the effects of DDO not having the AMs out there and how no one showed up to that event. So you might be right. It might not be an issue at all. And maybe that's something they considered. I do want to pull one quote out of this article. Well, maybe a couple quotes. So this was in the article that the PDGA posted about changing the change. And this is from the PDGA Director of Operations, Doug Bierkes. He says, we failed to properly assess the impact the Champions Cup rescheduling had on the newly announced Disc Golf Pro Tour Europe 2024 schedule events. New practices are being put in place by the Disc Golf Pro Tour and the PDGA to ensure this does not happen again. So like, are they just all figuring out that like email works? Is that the new practices that are being put in place? Is like sending out a memo saying like, hey guys, email is really effective form of communication. Let's start using that so we can talk with our partners and make sure we don't make mistakes. I mean, that was a hilarious quote.
They're doing snail mail. Yeah.
I mean,
snail
that's
is, out of our system. I have this new innovating idea of email.
Yeah, like I mean, that was, when I read that, I was just like, I feel like you say that when like weird stuff happens, of where like we had no idea this was going to happen. Oh, sorry, I threw the pizza out.
When, man, I'm not even gonna say it. Never mind.
No, go ahead. It's Thanksgiving. We're giving thanks. This is the perfect time to give thanks.
I mean, it just seems to me there's no awareness. There's no tour awareness on a decision like that. There's no tour awareness. There's nobody who's boots on the ground, knows what's going on, has a real pulse on the tour.
Yeah, and this is the company we're paying hundreds of thousands of dollars to. I don't know if it's that much, actually. That might be way too high. I just threw that number out. I didn't do the math in my head. But we're paying this company crazy amounts of money to lead us. And I'm like, should they? I don't know, man. There's just so many things that give me pause. And you have all these people saying like, man, disc golf should be so much bigger. Why isn't it bigger? Like, what's going on? I mean, this is what we're dealing with. I mean, this can't be helpful. So, all right, let's move on. Let's move on. I could talk about this. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Let's give thanks for them getting it right. Shout out. All right. The wild story of the week. This might be a new segment here. So to everyone listening, if you have a crazy story that either happened or happened in the past, whatever, if you've got a crazy story, send it in. I'll probably pick one out every week. And if you want to hear more of this content, the off season. Is that what it's called, Silas? The off season, right? Why is that sounding weird? That's not, I almost said the off preview, which was combining the off season and the preview show combined. The off season's a new podcast that we're doing that is me, Hunter, and Trevor. And the whole show is basically off of listeners sending in crazy stories. So if you're interested in listening to that, check that out. That drops actually tomorrow. So that comes out on Thursday. So here we go. Yuli, here we go. Relating to the last podcast and lost disc etiquette, I had a guy send me a selfie with my champion Firebird with the disc covering his face so you could see his face through the plastic, and then he never gave it back to me. To make matters worse, it was my first ace disc. I mean, that's something there. You get a disc, you see his face probably grinning through it, and then he's just like, yeah, this is never coming back to you. I'm keeping this bad boy. That is
You know what? My favorite one of those stories is the one of the guy who had your disc and then he chuck in the water or something. What was that story?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So this guy comes up. He's like, Phil, I'll retell it. I'm actually down in Tampa. I'm playing like King Climo's course, Cliff Stevens, I think it is. Yeah. And I'm playing one of the holes that's like right on the side of the road, and this guy comes up, and here's the thing. I understand there are people out there that despise me. So if you see me in the wild and you see me kind of being like a little like hesitant, it's because I've had a lot of really weird interactions before, and so I don't really know what I'm about to experience. This one takes the cake. This guy comes up, he's filming selfie style, talking. I don't know if he's doing like a live on Instagram or whatever, and he's got a brand new Brodie Roach Dark Horse putter. And he comes up to me, he's like, "Hey man, huge fan, love you. Can you sign this disc for me?" And I'm like, I'm with my buddy at the time, and I'm like, yeah, sure, man, no worries. So I sign it, hand it over to him, and then he like looks at the camera, he's like, "F this guy, man, F this guy," and then he just chucks it into the middle of a lake. And like walks off, like flipping me off and all this stuff. And I'm just like, I was like, how do I respond? I don't respond. I just stand there and I'm like, wow, this guy got me good, I guess. But he went out and bought that. He went out and bought a brand new disc for that bid. That is crazy that he went that far, but I still have never seen the video. Yeah, I've never seen it. If anyone's in the Facebook group that I'm sure he posted it to and said like, "Hey, Brodie sucks." Like if anyone's in that group, maybe start searching Facebook groups like Brodie Smith sucks disc golf, and maybe it'll pop up. Hopefully not weird stuff pops up. But yeah, if anyone gets the video, let me know, because that would be absolutely incredible.
Firebird to the face, man. That's a bummer, but
all right, Yuli, have you taken the PDGA rules test? I think you have to do that like every other year or something.
I just had to do it because I tried to sign up for the tour deal, and you can't unless you're current. So I did it last night.
So this might be the most ridiculous question I've ever had on a test ever, and I've had some terrible teachers in the past. This was legitimately one of the questions on the PDGA Certified Rules Official Exam. It goes like this. After 2 holes, a player in your group digs around in their bag and brings out a can and a koozie. They crack it open and start drinking. The drink stains their teeth red and smells like wine. Are you drinking, you ask? Just some expired fruit juice, they laugh. You can't drink during the round, you respond. It's against the rules. The player rolls their eyes and scoffs. We're amateurs in a C tier. Don't be such a jerk about it. What is the correct course of action? Why am I taking this test? What is this, Yuli? What is this? What am I doing? What am I doing? Also, here's another one. We'll go stop there. Sorry, I have another one too. So go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
Did you get 100? This is a legitimate question. Did you get 100 on it?
No, Yuli. You know why I didn't get 100 on it? Is because it took me a freaking hour and a half. You know why? Because instead of saying, "Hey, when you come to your disc, half of it's inbounds, half it's out of bounds. What's the correct ruling?" They go like this: You're playing in a B tier. It's 75 degrees out. There's wind left to right. You're wearing your favorite pants. You're walking up to hole 7. This hole has haunted you for years and years and years. You don't know what to throw. Backhand, forehand, you're not sure. You pull out your most lucky buzz. You throw the perfect shot. It hits a tree. It kicks 50 feet right. It rolls up close to the OB. You're so scared. Did it go OB? You don't know. Your group walks up. They find the disc. Half of the disc is in bounds. Half of it's out of bounds. What's the ruling? What are we doing? Why am I reading short stories? That was the whole test, Yuli. I'm reading a full short story to get to the question. What is going on?
And you didn't get 100%.
No, I didn't. I was sweating bullets. I was sweating bullets when I was about to click submit because I was like, bro, if I don't get enough right and I have to retake this test, I might literally tweet out my retirement. I'm done. I'm done playing professional disc golf. PDGA, you got me. This was your plan all along. You got me.
Straight up, like I did it, and it, you should, and I suggest this to other players. You should have the PDGA rulebook open in a different tab. Take the test. Look at the rule. This is bad. I've always done it like this. I do it one time, and I just rip. I just kind of skim through it and like do like logical answers and hope that I get enough to just pass it. And this time I was like, I have no idea if I'm gonna pass this or not, because this one took forever. Like you said, it took forever to read.
I was dumbfounded.
They had like 4 of the same answers with like just a little different.
I was
It was like,
I was absolutely dumbfounded.
and for the people out there who are like, oh, Paul, you should study and blah blah blah. I missed one question. One.
Shout out to you. Here's the thing. I think a lot of times I take that test and I'm like, this is what the rule should be. And I'm literally just answering it to try to hopefully put it through them. Like, your disc lands under a picnic table. What should you do? And I'm like, move the picnic table so you can throw your shot. So we're not having to stand on top of picnic tables or like throw from underneath a picnic table and make it look like a circus act. Yeah. And they're like, no, that's wrong. You can't do. I'm like, okay.
Or we should be playing on courses that don't have picnic tables, that aren't parks, that are disc golf courses.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I'll read one more question, because just one more real quick. You're playing a C tier as you and 2 other group members wait at your starting hole for the 2-minute signal. Your 4th group member arrives. They are not wearing a shirt or shoes. It's hot out, they say when they see the rest of you looking at them. The rule sheet does not mention a dress code. Can they play shirtless and or shoeless? I remind you, Yuli, we are playing on the Disc Golf Pro Tour. Why is this a question? I'll leave it at that. Okay.
I kind of want to play with that guy. He sounds like a cool guy, dude. It's hot out here, man.
What do you expect me to do? Sweat my balls off? Come on, man. Yeah. All right. Okay. Should I finish it with the last PDGAL? I guess I should. Just to keep it going. This is the final one, and this is an interesting one for you. So this is from Jim Oates, who, again, the history of disc golf is not somewhere that's like super easily found, and this kind of goes into that. That name I have heard about from others. I believe they are already in the Disc Golf Hall of Fame. And so they respond on Facebook saying, perhaps the PDGA should give all Hall of Fame members a lifetime membership so the history can always be preserved and viewed. At this point, there are only 103 members. Seems like a small but important investment. The fact that I cannot go on and see results, like go on and see like what Nate Doss, a 3-time world champion, has done in the past is crazy to me. He has to be a PDGA member for me to like see that. Is that not crazy?
No, it is. Once you pay for your year, you paid for the year. Give me my stats on that. Those are stats for life. I shouldn't have to renew to play a tournament. Yes, I don't. Yep. I shouldn't have to renew so you can see what I've done for the organization. You know what I mean? Me playing in a tournament, I paid my dues for, if I'm playing a C tier, an X tier, a major, whatever it is. I'm paying my dues for that tournament. I'm paying not only my PDGA membership dues at the beginning of the year. I'm paying, which some C tiers before, I believe this year, you didn't have to do that, but there was a fee, right? You had to pay a fee and you didn't get a rating and blah, 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 blah. But that wasn't me. I always paid and they take money from your entry fee to the PDGA after you are already become a member, which means you paid for that service to get a rating. And then if you don't renew the next year, it's all gone. My biggest thing with this, which really made me angry, and they finally changed this after a bunch of us complained. I believe they changed it. I haven't checked in a while, but one of my friends from when I was really young, his name was Ian Hoovey, great disc golfer, amateur, really great amateur player. He ended up passing away. And I wanted to go look at his statistics, and his statistics aren't on there because he's not a member and he didn't renew. And I think that's the biggest travesty, to have somebody who passes away and for me to try to pick up memories of tournaments that we played together or something, or see, when I'm talking stories like this, and I could be like, no, this guy got to this rating and he won this many tournaments. I have no idea because I wasn't able to look up those statistics of my friend. I believe they've changed it. I haven't looked in a while. I should, but that was one of the things that I submitted to the PDGA. Like, this has to change. Like, once somebody's gone, their statistics should be on there for life.
Yeah, we should be able to go back and see like what Nate Doss shot at certain tournaments and have those memories be relived and stuff. So I think that's a big miss there on the PDGA. Player movement and rumors. We have 2 FPO players making announcements on their Instagrams this week. The first one being Allie Smith. She was the 2021 AM World Champion, and also she won the silver event out at the Kansas City Wide Open. She is leaving DGA, and at the end, she says, stay tuned for what's next with the eyes emoji. So this seems like a situation that someone came to her, saw, she has a tour event. Yes, it is silver, but it is still considered a tour event. Someone came to her and said, hey, we would love for you to throw our products next year. And whether she went to DGA to say, hey, can you guys match this offer or not? But it seems like she has an idea of where she's going already. It's not just one of those like, hey, I'm piecing out. I'm going to try to figure it out. Any thoughts on where she might end up?
No clue.
No clue. Okay. Then we have Lucky Lawrenson. She also announced on her Instagram that she is leaving Prodigy. She her big finish this season was actually at Worlds. I think she had a very good finish there. I don't remember if it was a top 10, but it might have been a top 10 actually.
Place, I think I remember.
Seventh place. She ends her Instagram very similar, saying, now it's time to move on and make my dreams come true. Winky face. So apparently the play is
winky face. Nice.
Yeah, apparently the play is to kind of have some, interpretation there at the end and then drop off a little emoji. What, Yuli, you're never going to do this, obviously. You've already made that clear. But if you were ever going to leave Discraft, what emoji would you finish off? Your hey, sayonara, folks.
Deuces.
Deuces. I'm out of here, baby. It's been real.
Yeah.
Oh man.
I feel like that would be a pretty disrespectful one. It's just like, peace out.
Yes.
I don't
especially
know,
if that was
man.
the only thing that you said. Oh man, that's funny. Okay. So we'll see. Again, we're waiting for some big announcements. There are still a lot of players out there that we're expecting to hear from, and hopefully we will be having them on the show when that happens, or maybe even they'll come on the show to actually break the news of what's happening. That would be kind of cool. So we'll see what happens there. Size, do you have this next video set up? Because this is hilarious. Because we talked a lot about. Okay, I'll let you know when to play it here. Yuli, last week or 2 weeks ago, I think it was with Calvin. It might have been even like the last 2 podcasts. We've been talking a lot about baskets and how putting needs to change. King Climo came out and said it. And I saw someone post this. I can't remember where they posted it, but they said, this oddly reminds me of what golf would look like if touch was taken out. So just to kind of set up the video, when COVID hit, golf wanted people to still play. It was an outdoor sport. And so what they did is instead of having a bunch of people sticking their hands in cups to pull their balls out, that was a very awkward sentence, but don't know how else to say that. They just put styrofoam in the cups. And so if you hit the styrofoam that was above the hole that was blocking the cup, everyone just counted that. So go ahead, play the video here, Silas.
Starting to get that feeling history could be made today. 3 in a row, 3 birdies in a row. Below the hole, above the hole, it doesn't matter. 4 in a row.
The dude, for our listeners, the dude is just slamming the ball into the styrofoam, taking the break of the green completely out of it and just slamming the ball into it. So I thought that was kind of funny. He literally just showed how easy putting in golf would be if touch was removed, right? The target is the same size as what the hole of in golf is. However, now it doesn't need to stay in the cup or the hole. You just have to hit it. And so he just showed how easy it is to just blast a ball through the break and hit it. And I don't know, Yuli, that kind of like just resonated with me of like, that is kind of like disc golf a little bit of where you can just blast, like there is no speed. You can just blast putts into the chains and it stays.
I mean, we've had this discussion before, and then everybody gets mad about spit outs, and that's what I
They
say.
hate us.
Putt with a little touch, man. You know what I mean? Putt with touch. My biggest one is everybody talks about Deuce's putts when he hits them up. Dude, the guy's coming straight up into the chains and it bounces out and everybody wants it to stay. It's like,
yeah, super
I'm
hard.
sorry,
too.
that's not how physics works. That's not how it works, man.
What's another
Drop
sport?
it in there.
What's another sport that would be crazy if they like remove touch? Like basketball shooting? Like instead of there being like a hoop that you need to get the basketball in, it was just like a target that you could just chuck it at it and just yeah. And if it hits any part of the square, it counts. We were just launching basketballs into it. I'm trying to think any other sport that comes to mind that is like that. Basketball is a good one. I mean, I guess you could do like tennis and just remove the net. There's just no net. You slam the ball as hard as you want. Pool. Oh yeah, there's no holes in pool. They're just like, as long as it just hits any part. Yeah, how many times have you like hit the little side and it like doesn't go in? Now that just counts.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Question. I've seen some comments, Yuli, about my walls being bare. Nothing's on my walls. Now, I have a reason for that. This is a temporary living area, so I'm not going to put stuff on the walls just to remove. But I've noted, I thought about this. I've never been a wall guy. Going back to college in my dorm rooms, I wasn't like, I got to put posters up. I got to put my medals and trophies up. I've never been a wall guy. I've never put stuff on walls. Am I a psychopath that I can just live in a household with nothing on my walls?
Yeah.
Is that weird?
Yeah,
am I in the minority here?
I think so.
Did you put stuff up on your walls like growing up as a kid and stuff?
Of course. I remember when I was a kid, man, I made my whole room camo. Like I had the you know, like the camo that they put like over like a bunker or something. I put that on my roof. So the roof wasn't even bare, man. I had the camo. I had camo stuff everywhere. I got into paintballing, and so I had like all that stuff going on. I always had stuff on the walls. Football, like Michael Jordan's always been on my wall, bro.
I did have the star. I did the star one time, like with all like the little stars. So when you turn it out, the lights, it looks like I did that one time. That was cool. But it also like kind of sucked
How'd
to
you
try to go to
feel?
sleep.
Was it?
Well, it sucked to kind
It
of
was
go to
cool,
sleep
though?
because it kind of like it was cool, but like I was kind of like, hey, I kind of want to go to sleep and my room's not dark because I've got all these glowing stars above me. But maybe I'll put something up on my wall when we get back into Dallas. Maybe when I set up like my tour area, like my my podcast area, maybe I'll put some stuff on the wall.
Like my game room at my house, it was driving me nuts because like I had my little bar area, my TV, pool table, couch, and then it was like barren walls. So I had to buy, like, I went and I bought all the like the beer signs and to make it look like kind of like a game room, a couple lights, a couple South Carolina license plate that go across. Like, I don't like bare walls, man. You are a psychopath.
License plate. Like yeah, I think I might be. Now I do respect some, like the bottle cap walls. I think that's sick. Like the people that put up individual bottle caps to make their walls. I think that is very, very cool. But maybe I'll do something. I've got some cool stuff that I could put up on the walls. So I think I think I have some stuff that's already framed that could go up there too. I think Kelsey even has some stuff from her cowboy stuff. That
don't you have
cool.
like a million
Yeah, I've got
plaque or something?
Yeah, I've got the 1 million gold plaque. I think I have like 3 silver ones too. So we could, hey, that will be the day, Yuli, when we get the silver plaque for this channel. So if you're listening and you're not subscribed to our YouTube, head on over, Foundation Podcast, subscribe. 100,000, that would be dope.
How do you get the silver? Oh, it's 100,000?
100,000, you get a silver one. Yeah. They send one out for free, and then if other people want to buy one, you can buy duplicates as well.
Oh, really? Dang, that would be sick. I thought it was a million.
Yeah, so
you had to get them.
No, that's the gold one. No, that's the gold one. And it's actually not even that cool anymore. The one I have is sick. The one that they send out now is like not as cool because so many people have the 1 million now. So I kind of got lucky when I got mine. But all right, Yuli, did you come up with your top 5 Thanksgiving sides? Because if you didn't, it's okay. You have them?
I didn't write them down or anything, but I feel like I know.
Okay. Well, I was gonna say if you don't have them off the top of your head, you could judge who wins between me and Silas. But if you have them, we'll have all 3 of us go, and then we can have the listeners judge who picked the best ones.
Okay, let's do that. I want to let people know my sides because I'm boring.
You don't want people to know your sides, or you do?
No, I want them to know, but I want them to vote, and I know I'm going to lose because I got boring sides.
Okay. So if you're in the YouTube chat, you can let us know live, or you can let us know later in the comments. If you're listening on Apple or Spotify, drop something on our Instagram, our last post, who won. Maybe we'll make a graphic. Silas, let's do that. We'll make a graphic with all 3 of us. And there he is, Guy. We'll make a graphic with all 3 of us, and we'll post it on the Instagram for everyone to vote over there. So everyone vote on the Instagram. All right. Who I don't think we should do a draft where if someone says something, it's off the board, because then we could potentially have some people like having terrible sides, and I will not pick certain sides. I refuse. So I've got my 5. I think we just go one by one, and if it's the same side, it's the same side.
That's fair.
I'm gonna jot these down in the notes here so that way we have them. So Yuli and then Silas.
Yeah, I tried to pick some that you didn't have. I tried to pick some ones that were
you looked at my list?
Well,
okay. Everyone's there might be an asterisk now because Silas looked at my list prior to.
I mean, it's in the notes.
We could do a poll. Let me. Yeah, it's true. I am gonna start a poll for our TLC members. So who picked the best? If you vote right now, I'm just gonna say you're an idiot. right? Because we haven't even said anything. So hold your votes until we say everything.
Yeah.
All right, Brodie, Yuli, and Silas. Start poll. Okay. All right, Yuli, we'll let you go first.
Number one side that I would pick has to be mashed potatoes. That's the number one. It's got to be across the board the number one side at Thanksgiving. So I'll start there. Do I do all five?
No, just do one at a time. So you're going mashed potatoes. Okay. Silas,
Number
go
one.
ahead.
Okay. Little dark horse one here. Pigs in
Oh,
a
jeez.
blanket. Pigs in a blanket. You know what that is?
Okay,
Mhm.
I know what that is. I was trying to see if that's actually a Thanksgiving side, but I have had it before.
Yeah.
It's definitely a side that you normally only see at like big spreads. It's not like
Yes.
it's definitely a dark horse side. It's not one that a lot of people have.
I try to go for the dark horse ones. So
To me though, I will say pigs in a blanket kind of feels like an appetizer that you have while you're watching the football games.
that's fair.
So
That's fair.
I could
a
see
little
it.
too
I don't-
casual.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I'm probably not sitting down and pulling out my fine china
That's
and
fair.
putting pigs on the blanket on it. But I will say it is absolutely delicious. So I will give you that. Okay. I'm going to go because I love this all the time, but around Thanksgiving, it just slaps because I think you normally buy the store-bought ones, the craft ones, the ones that have the powdered cheese. But when it's Thanksgiving, you bust out the Velveeta, and you get it really cheesy. That's the mac and cheese, baby. The mac and cheese, absolutely delicious.
Solid.
I even like it when later once it's all eaten, I can have my turkey and I can dip it in the sauce,
Yeah.
the little cheese sauce. I mean, it's good by itself. It's a good dip. I love it all around. Mac and cheese is my number one.
Am I crazy to think that like mac and cheese really isn't like a Thanksgiving deal?
Yeah, you're
Am I crazy?
it's way more Thanksgiving than pigs in the blankets.
Whoa.
Yes, I can agree with that. But I think those are definitely, I don't know. All right, moving on to my number
right.
two.
You're number
Yep.
two.
We're just keeping it boring though. We're keeping it boring and classic. I'm a classic guy. I like some nice corn. Just some corn. Solid corn.
Okay.
All right. My second.
There's not much to say there. I will say I like your two sides though. I like them mixed up. I like putting my corn in my mashed potatoes.
Yes.
I will
if
say
you're
that.
at Thanksgiving and there's mashed potatoes and there's corn, are you getting them both?
I hate corn on the cob. I will say that. If it's corn on the cob,
I don't
screw
no
you.
corn on the cob. It's not corn
take the
on the
time
cob.
to
It's
take
like
it off.
corn in a bowl.
Yeah, I just my teeth, the gaps in my teeth, I don't know why they don't work with me, and like I just get corn shoved up in my gaps. Off the cob corn, I like that a lot. All right, go ahead,
Yeah.
Silas.
All right. My second one is a stuffing casserole. You mix you get the stuffing and then you got the turkey that's in there too. You put a little bit of turkey in there, and I mean it's a good dish. It's a good dish. Anyone can make it. Classic.
I will say this:
I
me
don't
and
eat
Silas, I
stuffing.
don't think me and Silas are gonna pick the same side. I
Why?
don't think we're gonna have one side that's similar. Maybe you looked at my list before, so maybe you did pick one of mine.
Stuffing casserole?
I'm
That's
out on
that's
that.
not Thanksgiving side?
No, it is. I'm saying I don't think my list and your list are going to intersect at all.
Okay.
The stuff that you're picking,
Yeah.
I think
Do you
we're
guys have
completely
mashed
on off.
potatoes on your list? I'm asking.
I don't know. We'll find out, Yuli. It's not my number one, though. I'll tell you that much. All right.
Oh wait, these were like number one was the first? Like
Well,
our
Yuli
best
started
one?
doing that. That's what Yuli
You
started.
can't
I'm just gonna
possibly
list.
have Thanksgiving without mashed potatoes. It's impossible.
I'm just gonna list them in
It's
order
a
of what they've been
turkey.
said. That's
Mashed
Okay.
potatoes.
I'm listing them in order of what they're said. So however you want to put them on the graphic is up to you, Silas, but I'm putting them in order of this. All right. My pick, again, This is a for sure a Thanksgiving side. I only have it on Thanksgiving. I never have it any other time. You get whatever those delicious breadcrumbs or crinkle, whatever that is, onion crinkle something gets topped on the top. This is the green bean casserole. This thing slaps. It is absolutely delicious. It makes something that I don't actually think is that delicious, green beans by itself. I don't know what they do to make it so good, but green bean casserole, you get the weird white sauce. I don't even know what that is.
It's the cream of mushroom soup. That's what it is.
It's delicious.
Yeah.
Green bean casserole, number 2 pick. Yuli?
Is it back on me?
Yep.
Well, I was gonna say green bean casserole for the next one. So I'm gonna just so that there's an extra side, so people know that we're actually making an effort here. I'll try to think of an obscure one that I like. That I enjoy deviled eggs. That's a solid like side little deal that you kind of munch on before the meal.
Yeah. It's a solid side. I just don't like them.
I don't like deviled eggs either. I know there are people out there that do. I don't enjoy those at all.
Hey, I would have had green bean casserole. I'm throwing this in as like a little bonus for
you could have picked casserole. You could have picked casserole.
No, that's my.
I guess
then. Number 3 is green bean casserole. Then
I'm actually changing the rules. We're doing a draft. You can't pick the same thing.
That's fair. I like that. Yeah.
I like what you said.
Okay,
yeah. I like that. We're doing a draft. You're taking deviled eggs. No. Oh, okay.
No, I'm not.
All right.
Oh,
that
okay.
was a bonus for the bees. That's what I was saying. I was giving them some.
You don't want that.
Extra
You don't want that weird. You don't want that weird red dust that they put on top of those things. that weird magic red dust.
I'm going into something new that I've just started to enjoy as an adult. And that is beer. No, I'm just kidding. How about beets? I like some beets. I never did when I was a kid. I like beets now. I said I was a classic guy. We got mashed potatoes, corn, beets. That's
all right.
A classic Thanksgiving meal.
Beets is
right
trash.
There.
That's a trash pick.
Beets
is a trash pick. No one's excited waking up to eat beets. No one's excited to wake up to eat beets.
Yeah, I think that beets are definitely a Thanksgiving.
All right. I'm going back to a classic. The sweetness, the sweet potato casserole.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Took
it's
it
a
off my
staple.
list.
It's a staple.
Good
You
one.
got it. I mean, if there's not sweet potato casserole at your Thanksgiving, you're doing something wrong.
The potato or the marshmallows on top is really freaking
Not a
good.
big fan.
That
And
really?
No.
Really?
Never liked it.
Wow.
I'm good.
Okay.
Interesting.
You're good on sweet potato. What about sweet
I'll
potato
take the
pie?
beets.
Because those are two different things.
No, thank you.
He's
That's
out
my-
on sweet
that's
potato
my
pie.
third. Yeah.
All right. I'm gonna go with something. I gotta take this. And I don't know if this constitutes for the entire category. I'm taking cornbread. You gotta have that starch. You gotta have the I mean, you can just pack on the calories. Like I said, you can use the cornbread to dip into the mashed potatoes. You can use the cornbread to dip into the mac and cheese sauce.
It's a vessel.
It is so freaking good. I'm going cornbread.
That's a
Third
good
pick.
one.
I feel like it's a freaking great third pick. You guys
Yeah.
are getting dominated right now. All right, Yuli, you're up.
All right, I'm up. Let me think here. Is gravy a side?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or does it? Yeah, I gotta go with
That's
the
a good
good
one.
brown gravy then.
You're going gravy?
Yep.
Okay. I've never been a gravy person either. Kind of weird.
Really?
I know.
Just
I
like
don't
you don't
know
put a
why.
little gravy on your turkey, a little drizzle.
Kind of freaks me out. Gonna be honest with you. Kind of freaks me out.
Like
I don't know why.
This is a weird. Like we could imagine us all bringing our sides. Like,
I'm not coming to your Thanksgiving.
I'm not
Julie.
eating any of the stuff that you're cooking, bro.
I'm literally eating like half of your things. That's all I'm eating.
No
So.
beats for me. All right. Are we saying desserts? Our dessert
That's
side.
not a side.
Our dessert
No.
side. All right. I want to clarify.
'Cause if you go pumpkin pie right now, I swear.
I mean, the thought crossed my mind.
I'm really glad that Yuli took beets though, because there aren't that many good sides left. But that's the beets is great. All right, go ahead, Silas.
I'm going broccoli and cheese casserole.
Good one.
Broccoli
Solid.
and cheese casserole.
Not as good as green bean casserole, but it is a good one.
I like it better. Slightly.
Really?
I like it slightly better. Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, I think I have to, the mashed potatoes, I think is probably one of the best. I still like my 1-1 mac and cheese pick, but mashed potatoes is up there. So I think I gotta have a potato. So I'm taking the sweet potato. I'm taking just straight up a good old fashioned sweet potato.
Oh, just the sweet potato, not the casserole.
Yeah. No, that's
I
sweet potato
don't
casserole. That's sweet potato casserole.
That's the
I'm
same
talking about
thing. Don't-
no.
I picked the
I'm talking about
potato. He picked the other potato.
no. My
You-
sweet
you-
potato.
Me and Yuli have potatoes. We're the
You're not
potato
putting
guys.
butter-
We're the
you're not
potato
putting butter-
guys.
You're not putting butter on a sweet potato casserole. Okay? You're not putting butter on a sweet potato casserole. I'm getting sweet potato. You crack it open, the steam comes out, you put a little butter in there. I actually like to close it back up after I've cracked it open to let the butter melt in it. I'm taking sweet potato.
Solid move. All right, we all
Okay.
got one more, right?
Last pick.
There's nothing. Oh. Just a classic roll.
All right.
Like just
Man.
a classic,
Yep. It's not as good as
Gotta have a
cornbread,
roll.
but yes, it's a good roll. Rolls are good. The fact that you got that fifth is pretty impressive.
I gotta take probably one of the only the last things left on the table here, and that's the cranberry sauce.
Ugh.
That's what I
Oh,
gotta
that's
take.
solid. Yeah, cranberry sauce.
It's pretty good.
I've never eaten it, but
I like it. I like it on like stuffing is good. Just a little side item. Yeah, it's solid. It's solid.
yeah.
I think my issue with this is like I'm literally just picking stuff that I really enjoy and I like to eat. So I'm going fifth, last
That's what you're supposed to
one.
do.
I'm going. Well, no. Sometimes you can play up to the audience and you could grab something. Like I could have picked
tried not to do
stuffing.
that.
I'm going cream
Yeah.
spinach. I'm going cream spinach. I don't have really any other options. Everything else on the board's kind
You
of
got
trash.
a lot of casseroles and cream and
No. Silas is the casserole guy. Silas has 3 casseroles.
I am the casserole guy. They do call me that.
All right, so here's the list. Here's the list. You have myself going mac and cheese, green bean casserole, cornbread, sweet potato, cream spinach. Yuli goes mashed potatoes, corn, beets, gravy, roll. And then Silas goes pigs in a blanket,
Yeah.
stuffing casserole, sweet potato casserole, broccoli and cheese casserole, and cranberry sauce.
Dude, pigs in a blanket.
All right.
Most underrated side on Thanksgiving.
They are delicious. I will say they are absolutely delicious.
Okay,
my
favorite
God.
dessert though. Pumpkin pie.
Yeah, pumpkin pie. Yeah.
I mean,
What's
you
the
gotta have
poll
a piece
looking
of
like?
pumpkin pie. It's not my
Oh,
favorite.
Yuli.
But I like
Yuli's
pumpkin.
Usually
crushing us.
55%.
Yuli's crushing
It's because
us
I got
on the
mashed
poll.
potatoes in there.
Yeah.
Nobody can pick something else. Mashed potatoes is a killer.
Mashed potatoes are
I like
delicious.
I like a good apple pie or something like that. Maybe a cobbler if they put it in there.
Dutch.
Pumpkin obviously
apple
is
pie.
the classic, but yeah,
Little
but
ice
when you
cream
get
on
an
the
apple
side.
pie in there, yeah.
If I show up and you don't have a
No.
pumpkin pie and instead you have a pecan pie, I'm literally walking out. I'm not
I can't do it.
staying.
Can't do
If you
that.
have pecan pie, I'm out. I am out.
Little eggnog,
Uh,
to wet your whistle. Maybe sneak a little rum in there on accident.
I'm out on the
Don't tell
eggnog
the
too. That
adults,
stuff
you know?
tastes.
Oh,
that
you don't
stuff
like
tastes
eggnog?
Awful.
No?
I'm telling you, man. A lot of this food I don't like. It's
Okay.
wild.
All right.
Yeah. I don't know.
Well, that was fun.
All right, there you have it. We'll make the graphic. Vote over on our Instagram. I think it's tourlife_pod or tourlife_podcast. So go check that out. We'll have that up maybe tomorrow. Yeah, we probably should post that tomorrow, Silas, since tomorrow is Thanksgiving.
Yeah, we'll have it up there.
Yeah, we'll have it up tomorrow. So go vote on that. But let's now jump into some listener questions here. We got a few listener questions. The first one is coming from the
Hey, that
football
was fun
guy.
to get Silas on there for the people to see the man behind.
Yes, we're going to do
Excellent.
more of that. Silas is going to be a little
Good.
bit more involved in the show moving forward. So we'll get more of that kind of stuff for the future. All right, listener questions. The football guy wants to know, indeed, do you recall a few months ago when I inquired about the potential concern for the Pro Tour regarding top pros venturing to Europe and subsequently diminishing the strength of the U.S. field? Is that of any concern to you, Yuli, that them creating a tour over in Europe that's now pulling people from the U.S. tour, and now we are basically going to have a watered down field in both events? Should that be a concern?
I don't think so. I mean, no, I don't think so. I think the fields are fine. I mean, they're going to be smaller fields, but I feel like for the big events, they should schedule around it, which I think they did a pretty good job. But I don't know. If you're going to try to go over there to duck for the sole purpose of like points or something, I understand that because people are trying to get a tour card and stuff. As far as right now, I don't have a problem with it.
Do you ever see? Because I think this could happen when the money is a little bit better, if it gets there to where traveling is easier. I think you could potentially take tournaments that aren't really producing numbers, that aren't really doing that well in the States, and cut those out. And just the tour is US, 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 Europe, 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 US, 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 US. And that's the tour. There's no overlap. There's nothing. When we're over in Europe playing, nothing is going on in the States. There's a potential for that, I think, in the future. But we'll see. We'll see how it all plays out and works out. By the way, you won the poll with 46% of the votes. 60 people. You almost had 30 people voting for you, Yuli. That's
and that's with Dark Horse Beats in there. Imagine if I didn't have Beats in there and I traded it with like a stuffing. I would have just destroyed you guys.
I love the Tour Life crew. I think they're biased. I don't think you're going to get that many votes, that majority of the votes with Beats on Instagram. I don't. We'll see.
So when you put mashed potatoes in there, dude, oh my goodness.
We will
Nobody's
see.
turning down. You can't have Thanksgiving without mashed potatoes. It's impossible.
Glory, glory, Man United. What's the etiquette for winning a random doubles ace pool? Are there qualifiers? First shot, partner parked the hole, partner is trash. What do you do in this scenario? And you answer this question because I have no idea. I've never done random draw doubles.
What do you mean? Etiquette for ace running?
No. Like you aced, and now your partner, like what is the proper etiquette? Like if they're trash, do you just take all the money yourself? But if they went first and they parked the hole to allow you to try to ace it and you aced it, do you split the money with them? What do you do if you win the
It's
ace
gotta
pool?
it's got to be decided beforehand. First of all,
Okay.
that's the etiquette. Is, hey, are we splitting the ace pool today? And then they go, yeah, I'll split it with you. But there is times, I'm not gonna lie, where I needed a little money, and I knew my partner was never ace running a hole in his life on the course, and maybe I didn't mention it. But you know what I'm saying? Where you're like carrying this guy around the course, hit the ace pool, and now it's like $500. I'm supposed to give him $250. If it wasn't discussed, I always gave my partner a piece. Typically, when I was younger, I can't quote that because, like I said, when you're younger, you need the money.
Yeah.
I would like to think that I did, but I can't remember every case. But for the most part, I split with my partner.
All right. Gabe Melendez on Twitter wants to know, should more disc golf manufacturers reach out to sponsor influencer type personalities that have never played disc golf? Innova and Discraft seem to do this some, but haven't noticed many others at all.
I mean, it's just advertisement, right? Like that happens with a bunch of companies. It's good advertisement. So yeah, probably a good idea to get influencers involved. Yeah.
If you have the money, I mean, it doesn't shock me that Discraft and Innova are the ones that are doing this because I think they probably have the most funds to be able to do this.
Yeah.
If you're a smaller company and your marketing budget is a lot smaller, you're probably not reaching out to someone outside of the sport to like try to market. You're probably going to first try to use that money with someone that's directly involved with the sport. So I think it makes a lot of sense for the bigger companies because they're already using a lot of money to market themselves inside of disc golf. And now they're also able to spread out a little bit and use some of that for outside. Scott Cashin on our Discord wants to know.
I just had a thought. Is ham a side you can have at Thanksgiving?
No, that is that's like a meat protein. That's like that's a main course.
Is the turkey the main, and then everything besides turkey?
No, there's some people that don't even have turkey. There's some people that don't even have turkey. They might just have ham. Yeah. So
that just went into my mind, and I'm like, did we miss?
You're locked in for tomorrow, is what you are. All right, Scott Cashin over on our Discord wants to know, how long are you and Yuli staying in Europe for 2024? You mentioned earlier in the pod that you were thinking about maybe playing in some more events. So do you have any intel on what your thoughts are there?
I have none right now. I have to look at the tour. I have to talk with the missus. I have to talk with Brad and really get my schedule. That's a long time to be over there, I want to think that I could do it and I can play most of those events, especially since they don't really conflict with other tournaments. But at the same time, that'd be nice to be home for some amount of time.
They don't put ice in their water, Yuli. Something to think about.
True.
How long can you last without ice in your drinks? For me, I think I'm for sure going over for 2 weeks. I think I'm going to be playing the European Open and then the event, I believe it's in Finland, the week before the European Open. I believe those are the two events.
It doesn't overlap with any of our
those two don't.
Stops, does it?
Those oh gosh, dang it. Those two don't.
The other two do.
The rest, a lot of the other ones do overlap. Yeah. All right. Final question
right
here
now,
is from.
Sorry to interrupt you, but right now, same plan as you. Probably the two for sure. Like the European Open for sure, the one before for sure. But I also was looking at the Copenhagen. I kind of like that one because I'd never been over there.
Gotcha. All right, final question here.
No,
keep going. Keep going.
And it was because it was the OTB. And that place just absolutely demolishes my dreams. And so You know, like last year, I remember playing like pretty good and just being in last place and thinking like, I don't even know why I came to California. So I was thinking maybe Copenhagen because I think that overlaps with OTB. Anyway, go ahead.
I gotta go back to OTB because the water dogs out there, the guys that are getting all of our discs, they, I think, look forward to the steak dinner that they're gonna have after I tip them for all the discs that they return to me. So I gotta go back out there and because they're expecting it, right? They're like, Brodie's gonna throw 10 discs in the water. We're gonna get all of them back to him. He's gonna leave us a nice little steak dinner money. So I got to go back there. All right, final question. Hire Callan Deboer is also on our Discord. They want to know, when is it too early to set up for Christmas?
Like now? Like today, I feel like.
Well, yeah,
If it's in your house. Now,
but what about tomorrow? What about the next day? At what point can you start setting up for Christmas in your mind?
the day after Thanksgiving.
The day after. Wow. Okay.
If you want to.
I'm December. I feel like December 1st, put up the tree, put the lights up. I'm all about December. Someone in chat says anytime in November. They're throwing stuff up November 1st. Are you crazy? I'm a December guy. I feel like December is Christmas.
You gotta wait till after Thanksgiving.
Kelsey's disagreeing with me. So I'm not saying that's what we do. I'm just saying I'm down with December. Kelsey wants to put the lights and tree up as soon as possible.
Yeah, see. Does she put it up before Thanksgiving though? There's no way.
She says after you eat is when you can start putting it up on Thanksgiving.
All right.
Yeah, so I'm trying to watch football and Kelsey's over there. Kelsey's over there putting tinsel on the freaking stairway. What is that called? Staircase. Stairwell. Yeah. Stairwell feels like it goes down to the basement.
No, a stairwell is like a circular. I don't know. You're asking the wrong guy.
No, the circular ones. Wait, the circular one is a. That's a stairwell. Spiral staircase. Yes, I think it's a spiral staircase is what I would call it. But maybe that is a stair. Maybe a stairwell is also a spiral staircase. Something to think about. All right. Housekeeping. Few things. Few things for housekeeping. Shout out to all of our new members and recurring members. We've got Pee Wee in the chat, Brian H in the chat, Dustin Dinsmore in the chat, Marcus Hirata, Grant Bontiger has been a member for 7 months. Shout out to you. Thank you. And then we've got Kenneth Lawson also in the chat. So thanks to all our Tour Life crew members. If you're interested in joining the Tour Life crew, I think you can do it for as little as $199. We have a bunch of different tiers. It gives you access to not only be able to live chat, but also gives you access to a bunch of other stuff. If you're interested in that, check out. The link is in the description down below. I think I'm going to be doing my next Q&A for Tour Life crew members in the next week or two, probably 2 weeks from now. So check that out. And we always appreciate all the support that you guys are giving us.
Yes.
Our Spotify and Apple Podcasts update. We have 765 reviews on Spotify, 206 reviews on Apple. Spotify still absolutely killing Apple. And 5K Instagram giveaway for everyone listening. And you haven't entered yet. You are missing out. When our Instagram hits 5,000 followers, we are giving away these two beautiful discs. For our listeners, we have I believe it's a Jawbreaker Z Flex Yuli Raptor. And then we have a Z Halo-ish Dark Horse. This was like one of my OG designs. I call it the yin and the yang Dark Horse because they're kind of intertwined with one another. nuke. We're giving these two beautiful discs away once our Instagram hits 5,000 followers. So make sure you go check out that. Check out Black Friday on Foundation this Friday, Black Friday on Discraft. Pick up some great time to pick up some stuff for Christmas. And Yuli, you got anything else for the people?
Yeah, Power Disc Golf Academy. We're also having a sale on Black Friday, so go check that out. There's going to be a big discount, 65% off for the rest of the season. So,
woo, doggy. Very nice, very nice. So, all right, well, we are going to lead into now our interview with the GOAT of bowling. This man has won 31 PBA Tour wins. He has 15 major championships. He's been the PBA Player of the Year 7 times. He is one of the greatest bowlers of all time. This is Jason Belmonte, and me and Yuli had the absolute privilege to sit down and talk with him. We talk bowling, we talk disc golf. There's actually a lot of similarities between the two. He also disc golfs a little bit, so he kind of had an idea of what was going on. Yuli, what are your thoughts before we go into the interview? What are your thoughts of Jason Belmonte?
oh, absolute professional, man. It was a pleasure to listen to his opinions. It was he's well versed and obviously very polished in what he knows as far as bowling, but just sports in general. I felt like, and it was an absolute pleasure. Yeah.
Yeah, it was very, very cool. So without further ado, we'll lead into that, and we'll see you guys all next week. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone. If you're traveling, listening right now, safe travels. Enjoy the family time. Enjoy the food. And make sure you vote for me in the top 5 best sides for Thanksgiving on Instagram, because we all know beets are trash and no one wants 3 casseroles. Thank you, guys. We'll see you next week. All right, we are joined with the one, the only, Jason Belmonte. Brother, how's it going?
Boys, it's doing well. It's doing good. Thanks for having me on your Tour Life show.
Yeah, it's been a while. We communicated a little while ago about potentially coming on. You are our first guest that is not a disc golfer, so congratulations. But yeah, we wanted to spread out a little bit, and bowling gets brought up on this podcast potentially more than any other sport. And I figured, why not have the best bowler in the world on our podcast? So,
listen, I got to stop you there.
Ahead.
I got to stop you there. I'm actually, I shouldn't say I'm a disc golfer myself, but I have played disc golf plenty of times. So I feel like I've got a little insider information about the game that a non-disc golfer might have.
Okay, so you've actually played a decent amount.
I wouldn't say a decent amount. I'm not good at it because the disc is not round enough. It's not spherical enough for me to be really good with it. But I absolutely freaking love it. I really love it. And so there are quite a few bowlers that have their own. I've learned a lot about the sport, about all the different kinds of discs, different courses, different techniques in throwing. So I want to play it more so I do get a little better at it. And I just love the fact that, you know what, you can just do it by yourself. If you want to have a little time to yourself, it's a relatively quick outing as well. Like, you know, regular golf can take quite a while to play. So I love the fact that you can just grab yourself a disc, go to the course, and just get some time to yourself to put some earpods in, listen to some music, and just chill when I don't have to throw a ball down the lane.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, there are a lot of similarities, like you just mentioned, between disc golf and bowling. And I think some of the things that we're going to get into here is a little bit how bowling has grown over the last decade or 20 years, let's say, and see where disc golf maybe can improve or things that we're trying to do differently. So I'm really curious about kind of all that side of things, the growth side of the sport. Before we get into that, though, there are a couple like just questions that I think a lot of just average bowlers or average sports people have. And one of that is, what is the average score for like a top pro? Because I think there is a misconception that you guys just go out and bowl 290, 295, 300 like every time. What would be like a good score for a top bowler, a top pro bowler?
Yeah, so let's lay down the parameters on what that means first, okay? And we can use disc golf as an analogy with this too. There are some courses that are typically harder than others, okay? And there are different holes as well that are typically harder than others. And so your par score on a difficult hole versus a par score on an easier hole, if you were to ask somebody what your best round is at disc golf, the next question that you probably want to know is, well, where did you play, right? What was the environment in which you scored that low score at? And then if you know the course and you know the level of difficulty, you can give that a bump up, as in like, wow, I know that's a really tough course. Or you can say, oh yeah, it's a relatively easy course. So like I can see how someone can shoot that low. And the same thing in bowling. So the difference between your game and my game is yours is a visual. I can see the trees. I can see how far the basket away is. I can see the difficulty in how hard it is to get there in one or two. In my game, the oil pattern that I bowl on is invisible, and therefore it's very hard to convey the level of difficulty. So the best way that I can describe it is at a pro level, our environment is the most difficult environment that you can play on, meaning the oil and the way that we spread it across the lane is conducive to very difficult shot making. So if you have a little bit too much speed, the ball won't hook enough. If you have a little too soft a speed, it'll hook too much. If you miss your target by less than a quarter of an inch, you can leave a split. And so you can go to other places, regular houses that don't have tour competitions, where you can bowl faster or slower, you can miss left and right, and the oil pattern will help the ball towards the pocket. So that's the environment that we play on, which is why also when you ask a very specific question about what do we average, our averages sometimes are lower than what you may see from a regular league player. But the environments that we play on are wildly different. And so when I shoot, which I think on my tour, I shouldn't say my tour, on the tour, my average is high 220s, 228. Between that, I'll score that across the entire season. Some weeks will be a lot higher if the scoring pattern is a little easier. And then other weeks when they're literally impossible, they're just impossible, your season average will go down. And so when you compare that to a regular league player, I mean, most of the guys that I meet that are pretty good players at league, they'll have a higher average than me, but they're bowling on very different stuff.
That makes a lot of sense, actually. And so when did they start implementing like oil patterns?
Oh, dude, since the beginning. Yeah, since the beginning.
Oh, really?
Since there's ever been really a lane and with, I call it modern bowling balls, but ever since, yeah, I would say the early 1900s, I would say oil was been put onto the lane. Now, as the years have evolved, so has technology. And now the way that we create oil patterns is, it used to be done by hand, right? You used to have a spray gun and you used to just spray oil on the lane and then you would mop it out with a rag. Well, it was actually kind of like it's essentially a rag on a long steel stick. And you would just push the oil around. But now we have machines that are worth $50,000, $60,000 that can individually oil specific boards and volumes and be very, very accurate. And so now the ability to design an oil pattern has made the game so much more interesting from a professional point of view. Because, yeah, you can lay down oil patterns that require a whole wide range of skills, from throwing it very fast and straight and to next game having to bowl it really slow with a really big hook. And so the player is challenged so much more now than ever before, I believe.
How does
And
that
that probably also. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah,
Yuli.
how does that work as far as, so the oil patterns change obviously in your competitions, but how much practice do you get prior to like learn that certain pattern from game to game? Do they switch it up every single game? And then bowling, like, you know, let's say you're on fire and I know how accurate you guys are. Let's say you bowl perfectly every time. Does that oil pattern begin to change throughout your game?
Oh yeah, good questions, and you're 100% right in some of those things. Like in the assumption that it's not just accuracy that we have to deal with; is we are also trying to overcome the future. So every time we throw a ball down the lane, that ball is manipulating the oil on the lane, and so where there once was oil, our ball will go through that track and it will take the oil away. So as 120 competitors are bowling on the Pro Tour week to week. Every single time someone's throwing a ball down the lane, that oil has been manipulated. And therefore, I have to be able to see the manipulation to an invisible oil pattern. And that is incredibly difficult. It's essentially like, imagine you throwing a disc golf, but not knowing which way the wind was blowing until you threw the disc. And then you would make the adjustment only after you say, oh, the wind was blowing left to right. I didn't know that, but now I do. I can make the adjustment. So do we. We can execute a perfect delivery and what we think is a perfect delivery, but the oil has changed. And now the result is a split on a perfect delivery. So we make a lot of our adjustments after the result, and the very best in our game can predict when those adjustments need to happen, and you make them before that you see a poor result. Now, in terms of when we see the oil pattern on the Pro Tour, we'll get an entire day of practice day. Well, I shouldn't say entire day, it's a 3-hour session. And so all the players can practice on the pattern, and we can manipulate our equipment. We can change the surface of our bowling balls to hook more or less depending on what we want to do to the oil pattern. But once the tournament starts and you're off to the races, every game that you move pairs and you go to the next part of the tournament, there's no more practice for you. So you're making these moves lane to lane. You have no idea who's been bowling where and what part of the lane has been manipulated. Sometimes you're fortunate that the shot that you're trying to create has been left alone. No one's been there. And so you might get a little consistency from game to game. And then all of a sudden you come across a pair of lanes where everybody's been bowling where you have been. And now the ball hooks 10 times more, and you have to make those adjustments very quickly on the fly. Otherwise you'll suffer with your score. And so that's part of what I think makes bowling such a truly difficult game, is we play on an invisible oil field that's constantly changing. So even when you figure it out, it changes again. And so the puzzle is constantly needing to be completed. And then, like you just said, we have, over the course of a season, we'll play on 20, 25 different oil patterns. And so even when you figure one out, that's it. It's gone for the year. You go on to the next one, and it's a new puzzle that you have to recreate and relearn and rediscover. And it makes it, again, very, very challenging. But that's why we love bowling on the Pro Tour, is the best bowlers will always rise to the top. And I think that's part of the reason why it's such a beautiful game.
Yeah, it seems like what you're just saying, I could luckily beat you in one bowl, right? If we both went and had one bowl, I could guess right the first time and you could guess wrong the first time and I could beat you. But over the course of 10 frames, you're beating me because you're figuring it out. And you might be like, oh, I need to take spin off, I need to add speed, and I can't do that. Is that right?
Yeah, very, very close to it. Yeah, I mean, one game, at our level anyway, you versus me in one game, I would find it very unlikely that I wouldn't figure it out to the point where you had and you could execute at a higher percentage than I could. It would be no different than disc golf. I could beat you on the first shot, right? I could get a par, you could get a bogey. But if we play an entire round, it's very unlikely that I'm going to beat you. Very unlikely. And so that's the same in bowling. You could brag to your friends that you beat me for a shot or two, but if we played enough games or enough frames, I'd be able to come back.
Yeah, that seems like one of the issues that we have with some of the courses is disc golf feels like it's kind of outgrown some courses that we used to play 10, 20 years ago, let's say, where, like you were just saying, we have some holes that the scoring separation is very small. The shots that they're asking for are ones that a lot of people can kind of spray shots and still get birdies. And it seems like that's something that I've always been pushing, that you want to try to create a level of difficulty to where there are gaps, not even just bad, medium, and good, but where it's like the greatest. There's gaps even at the highest of levels, right?
Yeah, you see, the thing that I have often wondered about disc golf and why there weren't some holes that maybe trialed and tested some kind of variation to it was you have the ability, because it's not like regular golf where to increase the difficulty in regular golf, you can narrow the fairways for sure. You can put bunkers in certain locations for sure. But you typically lengthen the course. And not that I'm suggesting we lengthen disc golf, because then in the game of strategy is kind of lost a little bit. And I always wondered why with disc golf there wasn't more man-made stuff on the course to create.
People hate it.
To create
People
strategy. Oh, they hate it? See, I don't know. I kind of figured if you could make a hole that was relatively easy become relatively challenging by placing, like a net of some kind to prevent a very...
Or an inflatable. An inflatable
Please
that
say
you have to throw
inflatable.
through.
Please say
Sure.
I thought he was gonna say it, Yuli. That would
Yeah,
be
but
that's
I'm-
Yuli's big thing. He wants these big like bounce houses, kind of in that the idea of an inflatable bounce house. He wants something kind of like that out in fairways that we have to throw through.
Yeah, I mean, okay, I'll be real with you, okay? The idea of an inflatable something, I think, and bear with me here, okay? I'm not totally shitting on your idea, all right? But from a visual perspective, another reason why disc golf is beautiful is because your environment is nature. It is beautiful, right? And so when you start putting these inflatable things, it takes away from that natural beauty of the course. Now, you could put a black netting up with, some kind of, tape that's not too invasive to say, you're not throwing through here. Like, forget about it. This is too easy. We're blocking this path off and we're going to make this a little more challenging. And therefore, you're going to have to create strategy. Do you want to go over this part, under this part, or around this part? If you go around it, it's easier, but it makes the hole a lot longer for you. Whatever it is. You design the course with these ideas of implementing structures to prevent the scores from getting too low because too many people have worked the game out on certain courses. Now, I'm not suggesting that's the only thing that you could do, but it's one thing I remember playing going, I'm not very good, and I found a few holes to be like, this is pretty easy. And it shouldn't be. Like, it should never really be easy for someone like me. It should be always challenging, and then I need to get much better before I can claim to say this is an obvious birdie hole for me. But I can already start to say that, and I don't think I'm that good.
Yeah, we're in a weird spot, right? Because the way, we're obviously a sport that's derived from golf, and so I use golf a lot of times when I'm talking about disc golf. And you've got two types of you have really three options to play golf, right? You can go to a normal course, then you can go to a par 3 course where every hole is less than 175 yards, or you can go play putt-putt, right? Mm-hmm. And there are a lot of people that go and play putt-putt and really enjoy it. It's a lot of fun. They get hole-in-ones, all this stuff. A putt-putt course, though, wouldn't be fun if it was super easy, like you were saying, right? Where there's just like 20 feet ahead of you, no curves, no elephant's mouth, no windmills, just a putt. Like, that's not really that enjoyable. So they do make putt-putt very, very difficult. where I think right now, and Yuli, jump in here too. I think right now a lot of like courses are easy putt courses to where you can say like you go out and you're just like, I don't really feel like that this hole is that challenging. And you're saying from your side, you would love to see that for you being like a newer disc golfer, you would love to have more of a challenge on these courses. Yuli,
Now,
is that kind of correct with the course layout, I guess, the analogy there?
Well, I think it has a lot to do with like what he's saying with like his oil patterns and what they have to deal with. Because at our level, the courses that we play, if we took him and put us on any of those holes, they're going to be considered difficult holes without
Correct.
a doubt.
Yeah.
And there are so many easier holes. I mean, there's so many just courses riddled throughout the country and throughout like Europe and a few other places that once you get to a certain level, like at the level that we're talking about, that we play at, like we're critiquing the best possible players. Like, how do we make these guys who are throwing it 450 on a dot, around corners, over corners, big anhyzers that land flat, out of bounds everywhere, how do we make it more difficult for those guys, right? Because if I went to, there's a little course right next to my house that I love playing, and there's 220-foot shots that you go there, and if I play good, I'm going to shoot between 10 and 14 under. Last year on the Pro Tour, I shot one round double digits. That was it.
Mm-hmm.
And so it is difficult, but there's levels to it as well. Like, I'm not one of the best players as far as even top 20 in the world. Once you get to the top 5, and correct me if I'm wrong with this one, Jason, is the top 5 bowlers in the world head and shoulders above like the next guys, or is the top 10, can they all beat each other any given weekend? In our sport, Brodie and I are pretty dang good golfers, but these guys beat us. I mean, how many times did we beat Calvin this year? I think I beat him 0 times.
I don't think I beat him. Yeah.
So it's not even in the realm. I'm not even saying make these courses harder for myself. I'm saying make it harder for the top guys,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we don't have that level of the dominance in bowling is not as week to week as you're experiencing with those top players. We would see our dominance over the course of a season.
Right.
Now, the top guys, there's 3. There's 3 of us that I would say are, if I may be so bold to say that if I were the king of bowling, there are 2 princes, and they are very, very much wanting to take the crown. And we are jockeying for those positions on a week-to-week, season-to-season for the last probably 5 seasons, and probably will be for the next few seasons ahead.
So that's like similar to kind of tennis, right? When you had Federer,
3,
Nadal, Djokovic kind of thing, right?
We are compared to that regularly. The next tier down can beat us multiple weeks in the season. They can win a title, they can win a major championship, but over the course of a season, 4th through to probably 15th, they can then all jockey for those positions. In the sense of where they will finish at the end of the season. Underneath that, it's very unlikely that someone from outside the top 20 will overnight be in the top 5 or top 15. There is a progression that you see within players' careers. Only a handful that I know have gone rookie year 1, year 2, best in the world. Like, the environments that we play on are so unique to the PBA Tour. It will take you a season or 2 just to experience it, learn from it, understand it, create skills that will benefit you on that tour.
How many players are, sorry to interrupt you, but I feel like this is pretty important. How many players are on the PBA Tour?
And then to follow that up, how many of those players are doing bowling like full time? Like they're making enough money to just be bowling? They don't have like side jobs or anything.
Yeah. So on any given week, we'll have 120 competitors for a regular tour event. Then we'll have events like the Masters, which will get 400 people competing in it. And then for the other major championships, anywhere between, which is usually a limited field based on the event that we're playing, anywhere from 120 to 180. So somewhere in that ballpark is a regular. Now, I want to answer this question. The question of how many of us are earning a living and can do this full time. We have a top 50 exempt. So the top 50 every single week are guaranteed a spot in our tournaments. Beyond that, you may have to play in a qualifier to qualify for it. Some of the events are even smaller. Some of the events can be 64, 68 guys, depending on the size of the venue that we're competing at. Sometimes we go to some smaller places for our smaller markets, but we'll go there. They might not have 52 lanes to compete in. They might only have 32 or whatever it is. And so our fields will decrease those weeks, which makes it a little trickier for those to compete week to week. But of those people that are doing just straight up bowling, I would say the top 20 are doing just straight up bowling with sponsors and their earnings from the tour. They're making a living. Outside of that, someone's side hustling somewhere. Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so then
Gotcha.
when's the last time? Because, like, for example, we had one player this year who was ranked, I think, like 77th on the tour, and he won an event. How many times, or let's say in the last, like, 3 years, has there ever been an instance where somebody out, like in that, let's say that 400-person field, somebody who you just never heard of won a tournament?
I wouldn't say that low in the rankings. I think you seem to talk about it very much week to week. I think my mind is very much focused as where does everybody sit at the end of the season? So you play the whole season and what does that ranking look like? And so through the season, you may see people who, I don't want to use the word shocked because we're all great players. Like we can all bowl really well. There's a hierarchy. But when you see somebody that you haven't seen before that close to a championship, it happens. Yeah, it happens somewhere once or twice a year. You'll see somebody whom the fans will never have met before, don't know their names, where they come from. You kind of find more about their story. Once or twice a year, that may happen. For them to win, rare. It is rare. Making television is possible, but I can't remember the last time a no-name player, and I use that with respect because I don't want to name a specific player, but a no-name player made it to a championship final television show and won the championship. It's been a long time since I can say, does anyone know who this guy is? Like, who is this guy? I've never seen him before in my life, and he's bowling great, and he's just won the major championship. I can't remember it.
Makes sense. All right, a couple quick like fire questions here. One thing in disc golf that a lot of people keep track of is their aces. They retire discs once they ace them. They take pictures. They write their name on the back and all the people that were there. Is that something similar in bowling where you guys are keeping track of how many 300 games you've had?
I think a lot of guys do. I stopped keeping track once I got to 100. Once I got to 100 certified professional perfect games. Let me rephrase that. Professional in the sense of competition, just not in league play, not in practice or anything. Like in actual competitions, I got to 100, and that was kind of the goal when I was a teenager. And so I got there and I kind of stopped counting. But there are some guys that keep the markets going to see how many they'll get to. But I've retired in terms of perfect games. I've retired 3 bowling balls because those were the 3 perfect games that I've bowled on television. Which there's the most anyone's ever done on television. So the 3 balls that I've had to shoot those 300 games, I've got them at home, and I wrote all the details on actually, I think the very first one I did properly. I put it on a proper ball mental. It has a plaque. It's got all the details. It's really nicely done. And the other two, I've been a bit lazy. I probably need to get onto that and add them to the thing.
Dang, that's sick. I just watched a clip with Emmitt Smith when he was going to break the rushing record, and every quarter he took off his jersey and put a new jersey on. So he had 4 game-worn jerseys the game he broke his record. So he was able to like give one to charity, give one to the Cowboys. He got to keep one. I think he kept the fourth quarter one. But that just reminded me of you having your 3 record balls up there. Like that was the kind of the same thoughts came into my head there. Okay, so we've talked a little bit about kind of where bowling has changed strategy-wise. And I first just want to say apologies to everyone out there. It does seem like from a casual fan, because I would say I'm like a casual bowling fan where I like to go bowling and I'll casually watch it on TV when I tune on to ESPN and it's on there. I didn't think there was as much strategy. Once you kind of explained all the oil patterns, now I'm starting to think, okay, there is actually like you're running numbers, you're trying to figure it out. There's strategy involved, where before I thought it was very much like who can just execute, who can just go out there, and if you hit a strike, great. If you don't, can you pick up the spare? Like who is able to do that under the pressure? And it sounds like there's way more to it than when I was leading on. So I apologize to all our bowling listeners. I stand corrected with that. But I do want to ask you about the growth in bowling, because you've been playing for several years now on tour. Where have you seen the growth in the sport?
I think it's the biggest difference from when I first went out on tour to today is the average age of the competitors. So when I was a rookie and I was a late bloomer as a rookie because I live in Australia. My trajectory of my career took me, just because I didn't live here, it wasn't easy for me to just come and play the American Pro Tour. So I kind of started going through Asia and Europe first. So when I got to the US, I got to the Pro Tour, I was 27 years old already. And like I said, that's relatively late, but I was still one of the younger guys on tour at 27. I'm now into my 13th year on tour, and I am well and truly the old person on tour. And most of the guys now are in their early 20s to mid to late 20s. Couple of guys have just kind of clicked over 30, and they are also feeling like they're the old kids on tour. So that's the biggest difference. And what I see from that is that trickle down effect through the community of bowling is we have been for a very long time, kind of an older generational sport where, you might have even heard your grandparents used to go bowling. Or it definitely felt older, and now it feels younger, way younger, a lot more teenagers, a lot more kids are playing, and a lot more in that demographic between 20 and 30 are either taking it up or they're taking it a little bit more seriously, it's awesome, because no sport, nothing in this world can last forever without a generation behind it wanting to carry it forward after them. So I've always spent a lot of my time pushing and promoting towards the younger generations, because without them, bowling and disc golf and any other sport for that matter will just fade away because no one's interested in it anymore. So you've got to keep that spark alive from a young age.
What do you think that, I've seen videos, obviously I'm sure people have seen the Dude Perfect videos and other social media videos that you have put out there. And I'm sure that has definitely helped younger players get into bowling. But what else do you think has helped that younger generation, like you just spoke of? What has helped get those into taking bowling more seriously over the last 10 years or whatever it may have been?
There has been a bit of a evolution in the technique of bowling. So if you haven't seen me bowl specifically, I was kind of one of the, if not the father of the two-handed bowling technique. And cut a really long story short, it was just when I first started bowling, I was 18 months old. The ball was too heavy for me to use this traditional one-arm swing, so I developed my own way to do it. And I got really good at it, and I just, I never had a coach, still don't have a coach. I do everything myself, and I've just kind of allowed my own expression and my own who I am come into my bowling and my style. That now has grown. That technique, when I first started traveling, I was the only one. There was no one else doing it. Now, the estimation is about 30% of the bowlers around the world have either adopted the two-handed technique, started bowling because of this technique. It's fun. It allows you to spin the ball more. It allows you to hook the ball more. And so I think that's been a large contributing factor into the growth, into the younger demographic, and also its popularity. Just because it's cool. It's cool to see your ball hook, and it's fun to see the pins fly around and generate so much more power in your bowling ball. And so the style definitely helps you do that.
It probably also helps too after your hand be so sore, because you don't put the thumb in, right? You do just the two fingers.
Just the two fingers, yeah. And like all sports, you do something the wrong way, or you don't warm up, or longevity, if you have enough wear and tear on your body, you're going to eventually break down. But for me as an individual, like I see all of my competitors for the last 20 something years of my competitive career, I wake up, there's not a pain anywhere. I don't have any soreness. I can bowl forever. And then I see a lot of my traditional players, they go, they have surgery on their elbows, their wrists, their shoulders, they have back surgeries. And I'm fortunate to say that it doesn't happen to me and hasn't happened to me. But because my style is relatively new, I don't know if we're going to see that effect yet. So no one really knows if bowling the way that I do is going to cause the same types of injuries. I guess I'm kind of the first one. They're all waiting to see. They're looking at me, wondering when is he going to break down so we can start to document it. But I'm lucky to say I've been very fortunate injury wise.
Nice. All right, I want to talk a little bit about the money side now, because one thing that we have seen in disc golf over the last few years is a massive growth on the purse. However, a lot of that has to do with just having more people playing in fields, because the majority of our purses are from entry fees. And so I just went and looked at the top 5 earners from 2022 to this year, I guess. And it looks like there was, and again, you can correct me here on whether this is just because people this year won more than last year, but you had 5th place last year take home 201,000. 4th place took 213. Third, 222. These are thousands of dollars, by the way. Second, 274,000, and you were at the top of the list last year with 302,000 for tour winnings. Fast forward to this year, 5th place was a little bit less at 145. 4th place was a little bit less at 175, but then there's a massive jump. You're at 3rd at 338. Someone's at 2nd at 347, and EJ Tackett is at 1st at 458,000. That's a massive jump, no?
Oh, I lost you there for a second.
Oh, sorry. Did you hear any of that? Do I need to repeat that?
No, I got all the way up until you said that there was a massive jump with the EJ Tackett at 450,000.
Oh, sorry. We can cut this all out. I'm dying anyways right now. Julie, do you have a question real quick?
I can hear that.
I definitely have a question. One of the things when I talk to other, athletes, especially at the high level, is, I guess the thing that I'm most fascinated with is like crunch time. you know, like the Tom Brady's and you know, in our sport, like the Paul McBeths and the Ricky Wysocki's. It seems like down the stretch they're able to get that heart rate down and just be clutch. What is it like when you're coming down the stretch and you have one ball, let's say for the win, and you know you have to get a certain amount of pins? Maybe it's a strike, maybe it's just 9 pins, whatever. That situation, the crowd's there. Is there a massive difference between, there usually is, but what would you consider yourself like pretty cold as far as in your career you've been able to kind of quiet the mind and really perform well under pressure? And is that a thing in bowling? It seems like it is everywhere, but I don't know, kind of deep dive into the mental side for a second. Like, going into a tournament, do you just know, okay, I hope I just get to the last bowl because I know I'm going to win type thing?
Yeah, well, my mentality is as soon as I walk into the building, I believe I'm going to win. This week, I'm winning. That's it. Everyone else is here for second. As the week unfolds, depending on how that form is happening, you know, sometimes it's not as easy as I think in my head as it's going to be. But there are probably two things about my personality that has really helped my career. The first is I just cannot quit. I cannot quit. And the self-belief without quitting, like no matter where I am in the tournament, for example, this season, I was nearly dead last after the first round of a major championship. And by all stretches of the imagination, I was probably not going to make the cut, but I thought I was still going to win the tournament, and I did. I found a way to bowl some ridiculously high scores to make it to the next round. Then I found another way to catch even more pins and bowl some ridiculous numbers, and then made it all the way to the television final and bowled some pretty clutch strikes to win the championship. And so that's the first part. The second part, which I think is kind of, I would say, when I say it's a new part of me. I would say the last 5 years. It's kind of, I've learned this about myself. I used to be really fearful of failing in the moment. Like, I wanted the moment to happen. I wanted that clutch delivery, but I was so worried about what if you don't make this? And that fear was so misunderstood and so misrepresented, because I wasn't, like, I loved being there. I wanted to be there. So I couldn't understand why the missing of the shot I allowed to overtake all of the other things that I loved about being in that motion, in that moment. And so I had a conversation with myself where I'm like, I looked around the crowd, one particular tournament, and like everyone there would have given their right arms and left leg to swap places with me. Like, let me be the guy who gets to throw the ball on TV. Like, I want to be that guy. And so this moment of gratefulness and just like, I am so freaking lucky. Like, this is what I do for a living and I'm really good at it. Like, yes, I need a strike here to win. And if I don't strike, I'm going to lose. But what a beautiful moment to be involved in. And so as soon as I flipped it on its head, where instead of it being a fearful moment of missing, it was this moment of gratitude and just pure pleasure to have this responsibility and this opportunity to do this. And all of a sudden, the fear of missing just faded away. Like, miss, maybe it didn't, like if I did, it didn't hit me the same way. I was disappointed, but it wasn't because I was scared of the shot. It was for another reason. And my shot making and clutch moment striking percentages went through the roof after that. Like, once I just flipped it on its head and said, this is not a scary moment. This is a moment that everyone else in the world will trade you for right now. So why don't you just enjoy it? Why don't you be grateful for it and make it a pleasurable moment rather than a scared one? And now I feel like, you give me that ball, I need a strike to win. Just take your shoes off, mate. It's done. Like, I'm getting this strike. And that's how confident I feel because of the joy that I have in that moment. I'm just pure me in that moment.
Man, that's beautiful. Thank you.
Now, to answer your question, Brodie, if you're still alive, you haven't died there.
I'm alive. Go for it. Sorry.
Okay, yeah. So the prize money can sometimes be, it can be a little misleading sometimes because we bowl based off of performances, right? So let's take the NBA or the baseball money that they make as put it into a graph. Like we see their salaries go from X to X plus tens of millions of dollars over the span of 10, 20 years, okay? For those types of games, it's really easy to say, oh, there's more money in it now because you're getting paid a salary. In our sport and in your sport, we are paid off performances. We win a championship, we get paid. We don't win a championship, we don't get paid. Or, if we don't make the cut, we don't get paid. So when you're looking at year to year based on how the salaries are going or the earnings, it can be tricky because the three guys that you mentioned that were head and shoulders this year, we just bowled consistently better than everyone else. And EJ bowled better than everyone else. And so it wasn't that there's tens of millions of dollars more money in our game. EJ just took a bigger percentage based off his performances.
Gotcha.
Anthony and I took bigger percentages of that purse over the course of a season than everyone else. But the total prize pool, which I think sits around $3 million for the season, split over, a wide range of tournaments, that hasn't varied too much. But what we're hoping to see is a large spike in that prize purse to go from 3 million to say 5 million, and then to constantly keep that trajectory going. And so then you'll start to see, well, how much money did 10th make, right? From 2022 to say 2026. And if that number is considerably different, 10th position, then we're onto something.
Okay, so you guys have kind of flatlined at that 3 million for the tour purse for several years now.
Yeah, and we're trying to see, we see some variations, but then also there are other costs involved that go up. And so we're really just kind of keeping up with the inflation of the world. We're not seeing us kind of jump beyond that. For whatever the players are making, let's say we make, just an example, someone makes $25,000 more this year. Well, their expenses were probably $15,000 more than previous years because of flight costs and hotel costs have gone up and petrol and everything else. And so, yeah, we made more, but we had to spend more. So we're not seeing that large jump as we would see it on paper. But we're trying to change that. And I think slowly but surely our partners and sponsors are definitely getting more involved. And Fox Sports is where you'll see the PBA. I think our partnership with them is growing as well. And so we're hoping to see growth.
And that's who you guys have your TV deal with.
We do. We have one with Fox, and we have a very small agreement with CBS Sports for a kind of, it is a part of the PBA Tour season. It's just kind of an offshoot to it. It's not a full-fledged 120 people competitor event. It's the top 8 from a series of qualifying events are then invited into this specialized tournament that CBS hosts. But yeah, every other event is either on Big Fox or Fox Sports 1.
Okay, nice. Yuli, it just told me to have you refresh your browser for some reason. It says it's not recording you anymore. So while you're doing that, I'll fire away a couple more questions here. And then we'll get you out of here, Jason. I know you got a flight to catch. So
appreciate you.
Okay. Do you guys have a world championship? Is there one tournament that everyone's like, this is the tournament every year?
We have 5. We've got 5 major championships. Those are our big ones. Those are the ones that you want to win. So we have the Players Championship, the Tournament of Champions, the US Open, the Masters, and the World Championship.
Yeah, that's something that I feel like in disc golf right now, I've had this discussion on the podcast a lot, is we have a world championship. It is a major. So all the ones that you just listed, it's in that same category, but it's called the world championship. And it is every player would rather win that tournament than any other tournament. And every fan is going to put way more onus on that tournament than any other tournament. And I think that's a problem of where you have this tournament that's like, there's not really anything that sets it apart other than it's one more day than all the other majors. And I feel like that's an issue. What are your thoughts on like if bowling all of a sudden changed whatever, take one of those 5 majors that you just listed and said, you know what, next year we're going to have 5 majors, but one of them's going to be called the World Championship.
Well, we have a world championship. We do have a world championship, major championship. But here is what I can hear from you, and what I think separates from us as well is our major championships comparatively to a regular tour title is very different. So a major championship will be 6 hours of bowling every single day for 5 days straight, and then a total of anywhere between 48 and 60 games will be played, and then the television final at the very end for the final 5. And so that is a mentally and physically draining experience to just compete and make it that far into a major championship. That's what separates it. That's why we want to win those ones, because they have more meaning, not just because the prize purses are bigger, which definitely is a nice bonus. But when I hold up a major championship at the end of that week, dude, I'm exhausted. I am as completely knackered as you could possibly be, just more mentally than anything else, because it has been, as we talked about earlier in the podcast, the mental grind of all these oil patterns constantly changing, the clutch moments that you need to be super physical and sharp at. And that's happening for 6 hours a day, 5 days a week. And then again on Sunday for the final. That's what makes them so valuable to us. It sounds to me like you could probably kind of do the same. Like golf has it. I mean, tennis has their major championships, and what separates them is, they go to 5 sets instead of 3 sets, and there's, different surfaces like, clay for the French, and Wimbledon has grass, which makes them a little bit more.
It's also
unique.
harder to qualify though too for like these golf, like the fields are different, right? Where like our the world championship, like pretty much anyone can sign up for. So I think that kind of people that don't play on tour ever are just playing in the world championship as well. But
this goes all the way back, though. This goes all the way back to when you were commenting about the level of difficulty of the courses. And I was going to make this point, and I never really got an opportunity to say it, but I'll say it now. When you're playing for prize purses that are independently funded by the players, so your entry fees are going into that. If you start designing courses, right, that are to slow down the very best disc golfers in the world, then you're making it harder for everyone else as well. So yes, it's harder for them, but it's also much harder for everyone else. That's what we also see when we create an oil pattern that is brutal for the 50th to 100th place player. They are almost eliminated from that tournament win. Like they know I'm just not there. I cannot keep up on this oil pattern. So what they ask for is the opposite. Be a little bit easier. Yeah, the top guys are going to be accurate and they're going to be fine. But when I miss a little bit, the easier oil pattern now gives me a chance to keep up with their scores. Now, this is where you and I are going to disagree with the majority, because the majority aren't the best. They're not in that top 20 echelon of players. They're in the bottom hundreds, and they want to be at the top, but they're not good enough. So you either spend years dedicating your life getting better, or you just make it easier. That's the quick way. So we fight that in bowling too. I try to explain to people just making it easier is one way to appease the masses. Everyone, they may not win, but they walk away feeling like I did better than if it was a really difficult oil pattern. They walk away feeling I did okay, but on a really difficult course or a really difficult oil pattern, and they walk away plus, you know, in your case, plus 15 or plus 20, or in my game, minus 200, that's defeating. You might not get their entry fee back. You might not get them next time. And now they don't add to the prize purse. So now your prizes are failing. So as soon as you steer away from entry fee prize purses, then you can start to create the tour of your dreams. Once you get sponsors that are saying, we'll cover the prize money, we'll cover that. We don't rely on 400 of you guys to put your entry fees in for this. Then you can start to build a tour of the very best in the world, where you are making these courses incredibly difficult with strategies and lane conditions that are brutal, because you're not trying to keep everyone happy. That isn't good enough. It's a really slippery slope. It's a bad balancing act. You know, tennis and golf and basketball, all these big sports that have millions and millions of dollars, they can design their tours to suit a minimal amount of players, because they don't need 10,000 entries, right? They don't need 500 entries to make this tournament a good tournament. They just need their 128 exempt players.
Yeah, they're top guys.
That's right.
Yeah. One thing I think we struggle in this, the analogy would be you guys showing up to a bowling tournament. You know, let's say it's a major, and you're showing up, and the oil pattern is an easy oil pattern, and it's the same one every single time you play. So it's not changing. Then that does become who can just execute, right? There's not really any sort of strategy involved. And to me, when you have the word golf in your sports name, course management, trying to figure out how to beat a course and having there be multiple ways to play a hole and trying to figure out what's the best way for you. Maybe the wind's different one day, so you have to play it differently. Having that, I think, adds so much intrigue of where if I did really like dig into bowling and start realizing, oh my gosh, like today the oil pattern's this, he's gonna have to do something different. Similar to golf, they change the pins around, right? So like some days a hole might be like they're all attacking this hole. Another pin location on that same hole, the next day, now all of a sudden you're seeing people play super defensive. And like to me, that's very interesting not to see the same thing. And I think that is something that we struggle with some of the courses we play, of where it's very straightforward. And we have 4 people play the hole at the same time. And a lot of times you just see the same shot over and over and over and over again.
Yeah,
and
I guess the trickiest part for you as well, and why our environment is easier to deal with this, is we can just, okay, my home bowling center, I can put down a infinite amount of oil patterns. So my environment in my own center can change day to day, hour to hour if I want to re-oil the lanes. Your courses, to manipulate those courses, you either have to wait for the wind to come, or you have to start building man-made stuff. But if you're trying to redesign a course and then allow nature to build the difficulty into it, you're going to wait 10 years for some of these trees to grow big enough to get in the way to make it a difficult course. So that's why I suggested, and I guess to some degree, right, the inflatable makes sense, is they're quick, you put them up, it changes the strategy really quickly, and it allows the players to look at a course that they've known for years, have a very specific way to play it. You're now throwing that out the window, and it's telling them you're going to have to be a bit more creative, or you're going to have to, in this particular course, we're going to make you an excellent, and I could help me with my language here, but do you still call it like a putt? Like, what is your soft close range? Yeah,
putt. Yep.
So you might say we are going to really emphasize on making these guys putt really well, because they're not going to get there into as much as they used to before, because we're putting up these man-made objects that are going to prevent them from the tap-ins or whatever. It's going to be a 18-footer.
Longer putts.
Yeah.
18-footer.
Let's see who can putt really well on this course. And then another course you might design it where it's like, we're going to lengthen it, not because the hole is going to lengthen, but the path we're going to force you to make is going to be longer. And so now you might not be able to use a big, draw-in shot, you might have to be like, I'm going to hit this, I'm going to throw this a little shorter because my next shot needs to be the long drawing one. And again, you can, it's just harder for you because you've got to build it and then you've got to take it down.
It's a lot more expensive,
it's
I
a lot
think.
more expensive.
Yeah.
But yeah, if things become too easy, it becomes boring. All of us feel that. Like if I play a game on my phone and I beat it, and every time I play it now, I beat it every time, like I delete the game. Like, where's the challenge? I'm not interested in playing anymore. Yes, the first times you play it, you might enjoy the fact that you're good at it and that you can beat it, but it doesn't take very long and for that feeling to fade away. And I think that's what happens with bowling too, and why we are always pushing our younger players in particular, challenge yourself on more difficult oil patterns, because then the game is renewed. It's not the same feeling anymore. You're having to adjust more often. You are creating new shot shapes because your regular shot shape doesn't work on this oil pattern. And that's exciting. It gives people a purpose to practice. It gives people a purpose to study the game, download content, watch YouTube podcasts like yourselves to maybe learn a thing or two. Like, it just, that's the trickle down effect that sometimes people forget, is it's not just lowering the scores, everyone's happy. Sometimes making it a little harder, everyone can prosper. Coaches prosper. People who make the disc golfs might prosper because now they're starting to learn, I need more variations to my discs. Like, I need one that has a specific loft on it or whatever. Again, I'm still learning.
Yeah. Those are some good points for sure, and definitely things that we are in a weird spot right now where you feel like some people are like, I don't want to see change, and then you have others on the other side that are very loud and both sides are outspoken, and they're kind of going in opposite directions. So it'll be interesting to kind of see where disc golf ends up going.
Yeah.
Yuli, do you have time for one more question? Yuli, you got anything for him? I've got one final question.
I was curious because I don't know if you answered this when we were talking about the major championships, and you said you have a world championship and you have 5 major championships. Is there one of those tournaments that you would rather win instead? Like in traditional golf, people want to win the Masters or they want to win the Open Championship. In our sport, we want to win the World Championships above all, even the majors. Even though we have 4 majors, World Championship is head and shoulders above everything. Is there one of those in bowling?
Okay, I'm going to answer this very honestly, and you're not allowed to make fun of me. So I have 15 majors. I have all of the major championships. And so the reason why the one that I want to win again is the US Open. And the reason why is because it's the only one I don't have 3 of.
Makes sense. Makes sense.
Listen, I know how that sounds, okay? But it is the truth. So when you're asking me, which one do I want to win? I want to win it for that selfish reason. I want to own all the major championships 3 times over. And that's never been done. In fact, it's never been done twice over. There's myself and another gentleman that owns all 5 majors. We're the only ones to own them all. I'm 1 US Open away from owning them all twice. And then I'm 2 more US Opens away from owning them all 3 times over. So I'm very focused on the US Open at the moment.
So would you say that all your major championships, just from let's say all professional players, the majors are equally as important? Like if you win a US Open and let's say you win whatever the other one is, a major's a major in bowling. Like they're all just the top pinnacle.
Yeah, look, I mean, you may have personal preference for some nostalgic or some sentimental reason that I don't know, maybe you grew up and your favorite player won a specific major and you wanted to win it too. I mean, I think most players would argue that if you owned the US Open and that would be your only major, you'd be very happy with the US Open. I mean, you'd be happy with any of them, but you'd be very grateful to get our US Open. It's typically our most hardest event to win. But in saying that, all of the majors are brutally difficult to win it. So it's not like, the US Open is the only hard one and the other ones are on easier. Everything is difficult. It's just that one seems to be that, maybe 5% harder.
And I'll say this, like when I was looking up your stats and stuff, it says 15 major championships, right? Where in disc golf, if someone won, let's say 15 major championships, but won 5 world titles, world championships, it would say 15 major championships, 5-time world champion. Actually, it would probably say 5-time world champion first, and then 15 major championships. So it's like a separator, even though it's under the same class.
Yeah.
Which I've always thought that was a weird thing. But all right, final thing, and we'll let you go because I don't want you to miss your flight. I'm fascinated with this question. How the heck do you travel with the balls?
Yeah, it's not easy.
Because aren't they like 10 pounds each, roughly? Right?
15 pounds. 15 pounds each.
15?
Yeah, 15 pounds.
You can only put
each.
like 2 of those in a suitcase.
Yeah. So this is where the further up the bowling tree you go in terms of your skill level, the more resource and benefits that you have. So I'm very fortunate that my sponsor, Storm, will give me whatever I want, whenever I want, as much of it as I want. And so if I'm traveling from Australia to anywhere, I'll call my sponsor, I'll tell them where I'm going, and there will be fresh bowling balls for as far as the eye can see that I need. Perfect.
Wow.
From stop to stop, right? When I'm on the Pro Tour, the PBA does have a dedicated truck to help travel with a lot of the bowling balls. So we can put our ball. So on any given week, I will use anywhere between 6 to 12 bowling balls on any given week.
Wow.
And that's if it's a very testing week. If you're making a lot of adjustments, there might be some weeks that you've just got a great feel. 1 or 2 balls is all you need. You just change your hand position a little bit and you're good to go. But a lot of times you're going through your bag. You're going through your bags. And they're also there as like a what if. Like, what if I need something like this? I got to have it with me. Just in case.
We are the same. We are the same way where we'll have 30 plus discs in our bag and we might not ever throw one.
Mm-hmm.
There might be multiple, right? Usually there might be tournaments where you have like 5 discs that you'd never touch in the entire tournament.
Yeah.
But you're just like, just in case I have that one shot.
I need it. Yeah.
I need it. Yeah.
Right
okay.
there.
So there's similarity there. Okay.
So when you're traveling and you don't have those luxuries, it becomes very difficult. I see a lot of guys drive. A lot of guys will just drive from stop to stop and bring their big trucks and put all their equipment in the back. Some guys like to drive anyway. So you'll see players often, they'll help other players out. Say, hey, I'm driving to the next stop. It might be a 10-hour drive, 12-hour drive, 5-hour, whatever it is. And, some of the guys will just say, oh, I can take a few bags for you. And there's enough of those guys that if you're really struggling with travel, we're a very close-knit community as well. Like, it's not, we're there to help you. We understand the grind. We all are away from our families. We know how hard it is to be on the road for 4 or 5 months straight. And so when someone's having not a great season or someone's needing help, like, we're there to put our hands up and say, like, let me figure this out for you. Now, when we lace the shoes up and we're on the lanes, I could murder them all. Couldn't care about them one little bit. But once we come off the lanes, it's very different. So there's that, the PBA truck, and if you're sponsored, makes it a little easier. Air travel is impossible. Yeah, if you don't have sponsors to help you out, or you don't ship the bowling balls, which is also expensive to just ship them, you're carrying your suitcase on the plane with you and you're packing your bowling balls and you're only packing a handful of them, which again, as you know, if you don't have the right disc in your hand for a certain shot, wind type, length, you're just not going to win. You can't keep up if you don't have the equipment. So it can be very difficult for those starting out.
Jason, if you were to just show up, local bowling alley, grab a ball, a little 14, 15 pounder off of the rack, are you shooting at 300?
Yeah, of course. No, I don't know. I don't know. If I was to use like some random house ball and just kind of show up, I think I could bowl if I bowled really well. Like, I think I could pop a big game. I don't know if it would be 300, but I could pop a pretty big one. But I would say out of 100 attempts, there would be 75 of them would be over 200. There'd be a percentage under 200, which is our par score. And then there'd be a handful that I was able to pop a real big, or maybe 1 out of 100, I'd get all 12 and shoot 300. That would probably be the one percenter. That would be the 1%er. I might just I might just do that and record it. Just see. Let's just see what I would do.
Well, before you do it, let's do it together because I think this is a video idea. Me and Yuli versus you. We get our combined score versus you. We'll see if we can take you down. I will say I did my first time bowling in a while. I popped off I was very impressed. I got 160 something, 150, 160, which is really high. And then I barely broke 100 the other time.
Well,
so Yuli, I don't know how good you are.
The highest score I can get is 300. So if you bowl 150 and 151, I can't beat you, which is
exactly. I love it. I love our chances.
I think it's great because I'm an awful bowler. When I was a little kid, we bowled a lot.
There you go.
And I was pretty good when I was 14. You know. We did a no tap league with my church, and we.
You're been in leagues before. I'm getting hustled here. All right. And even worse,
I gotta get my balls shipped to me
with your church. So you've got Jesus on your side as well. Come on, man. I got no chip.
Just wait until I pull out the slide down the dragon's mouth. It's a strike every time. Just put a little top spin on it, let it go down.
Yeah, right. I'm putting up the bumpers, baby.
All right, boys. I gotta go.
Quick shout out your sponsors and everything. If people are new to bowling, what shoes should they buy? What ball should they buy? Real quick shout out and then peace out.
Yeah, listen, any bowling ball that has a Storm logo on it, they're the best. I mean, I have my choice of the litter, and I would always and only ever throw Storm. They just make such great equipment. 3G for the shoes. It's a brand 3G. Fantastic quality. Love them. If you just want to know anything about me, go to my website, jasonbelmonte.com, or I'm on all the usual suspect socials. Usually you'll find me at jbelmo.
We'll have all his links in the description down below, too, for you guys to follow.
Or if you want to follow me on tour, you can look at my YouTube channel. I do a vlog series where I bowl the major championships. And you can kind of see all the behind the scenes and what it looks like week to week and day to day on the major championships.
Awesome. Appreciate it. Before you close out, just make sure it says 100%, and then that way we'll have all the footage on our end. But I know everyone listening, we really appreciate it. Thank you so much, Jason, and good luck next season.
You got it. No worries. See you guys.